Blog Talk Radio.
He is the last of his kind. All that remains of a once powerful nation. Some think he is a myth. Some believe he is the chosen one, who will bring balance to a world at war. And some will stop at nothing to destroy him.
Welcome, everybody, to Morris Talk Live 100. I'm your host, Tarhaka and Bay, and tonight, my special guest is Dr. Bom Bay, and we'll be discussing current events and facts for your survival. We'll be dealing with what's going on in the country today, and we're going to try to get down to the bottom of this stuff and lay all the cards on the table, so that you can have a much clearer understanding of what's been happening here. We got the virus thing going. We got the EMF technology, 5G, all that kind of stuff. We'll be dealing with the following questions, or just a few questions that I want to talk about. And it is, what are the U.S. corporations up to now? What is your own personal investigation so important? Why is that important? What is 5G exactly? Are we facing a civil war in the United States today? Where will forced vaccination lead us? What do politicians not wearing a mask against a supposed global epidemic tell us? What should we be concentrating on today? What about the radiation of the sun today? What about that? Okay. Nevertheless, the number to dial into this broadcast is 319-527-6084, and press 1 on your phone. That'll give me an indication that you have something to say. The phone lines will be open this evening. My special guest is Dr. Bom Bay, and we're going to go over here to these commercials. And we will be right back. So y'all hold on a minute.
Okay, everybody. The first day of spring is on March 19th. Let's strengthen our immune systems. We got the coronavirus thing going around. Our new deadelimination.org site is available. newdeadelimination.org. We got your moringa powder. It's ready. We got your 8-ounce sealed organic moringa powder by the jar, and it's going by the case. We also got your 10-ounce jars sealed organic moringa powder right there, newdeadelimination.org. That's newdeadelimination.org. Get your fresh moringa powder so that you can strengthen your immune system. Sprinkle a little bit on your food, or if you want to make you a smoothie on your drinks or your salad, however you want to do it. Go get your moringa powder at newdeadelimination.org and go ahead and strengthen your immune system. Okay? Fight these viruses and things. Tarhaka here. We have our secure party and creditor package. Go to www.newdebtelimination.com. That's newdebtelimination.com. Get yourself free. Learn how to be a secured party. Learn how to be a creditor. Learn how to establish your trust. newdebtelimination.com. Everybody, this is Tarhaka again. I would like to introduce you to the Great Debate. We now have copies of the Great Debate. Dr. Walter Williams debates Prince Ezio ben Israel of the Hebrew Israelites. Also, Reverend Henry Hardy of one of the most prominent churches in Chicago, Illinois. Chester Blair, a major attorney in Chicago. And Munir Muhammad of the Nation of Islam. The whole thing is hosted by W.L. Lillard. Dr. Walter Williams debate these men on their belief versus what he knows for a fact and he can prove. Get your copy by going to www.tarhakadebtelimination.org. That's tarhakadebtelimination.org, or you can go to newdebtelimination.com. newdebtelimination.com. Contact me for your copies. Okay? The Great Debate. You got any questions, just give me a shout. Peace. All right, everybody. Brand new day, brand new start. CTFO is booming today. Get your free website and back office right now. Go to www.tarhakadebtelimination.org. That's tarhakadebtelimination.org. You know, on February 5th at sundown, we'll be in the year of the pig in 2019. That's right. That's the money year. And it's time for you to go into business for yourself. You've been saying what you're going to do. Now's the time for you to do it. Get your free website and free back office by going to www.tarhakadebtelimination.org. Look to the left. You'll see a little button say CTFO. Brand new startup company. The hottest thing going in the country today. Now it's time for you to own your own company. Free back office, free website. Peace.
All right, everybody, we're back. Keep in mind, once you dial into the broadcast, you press 1 on your phone. That will give me an indication that you are live and we're ready to roll. And so the number to dial in, 319-527-6084. Press 1 on your phone. That's the only way I will know that you're ready to come in on the broadcast. All right. Now, on our last broadcast, we dealt with Dr. Walter Williams, and, of course, he gave us the information about Egypt. But we got this thing here going today. They got people walking around, they wearing masks, they got on gloves, they putting on hand sanitizer. You got to be 6 foot away from each other and all kind of stuff going on. But what is interesting to me, and I've been paying attention, is the politicians that are steady giving us this information, they're always in a group. Ain't nobody got on no mask, but they steady telling you what you supposed to do and how you supposed to be, and we run right along with it. Ain't nobody paying attention to the fact that if we supposed to have this big epidemic and this big virus going on and all of this stuff and all these people supposed to be dying as a result of this here, well, why aren't you wearing a mask? Where your mask at? Why you ain't got rubber gloves on your hands? What's going on? But needless to say, last week when we did our previous broadcast, I ran a plug, and where this man just simply asked this guy straight out, is the coronavirus a hoax? Yes or no? Just straight out. So I won't rerun that again. I want you to watch what happened. Listen very, very carefully to this guy's response to the question. Real simple question. Is the coronavirus a hoax? Point blank. Hold on. Here we go.
Do you agree with Donald Trump's Chief of Staff, Mulvaney, that the coronavirus is the hoax of the day?
The State Department is doing everything it can to protect American citizens around the world.
Do you believe coronavirus is the
I'm not going to comment on what others say.
I'm just asking you, do you believe the coronavirus is a hoax?
I'm just telling you what the Secretary of State's doing.
Do you believe the coronavirus is a hoax?
We're working to keep people safe.
You can't even answer that question.
Yeah,
it's not even a gotcha question. You believe the coronavirus is a hoax?
It's a gotcha moment. It's not useful.
Is the coronavirus a hoax? Can you just answer that question?
We're taking it seriously. This is a
are you
serious.
At 12:15 today? Are you in fact yourself speaking at CPAC? At 12:15 today, are you speaking?
Yes, I am. I'm planning.
All right. So you can only give 2 hours to this bipartisan group of members of Congress, and instead of answering questions on life and death issues from a bipartisan group of America's representatives, you're going to go talk to a special interest group.
Yes.
You, sir, represent all Americans, not a special interest group. It is shameful. You can't even answer basic questions. I yield back.
Okay. There you have it. Now it appears that my guest is in the queue. I'm going to open up the lines at area code 312. Area code 312.
Yes, sir.
Come on in.
Tarhaka. Good afternoon to you and your listening audience. This is Brother Yoel calling as war correspondent for Chicago area.
Okay, welcome. Come on in, man. And tonight, I want to get this thing straight, man. Because in my opinion, it's a bunch of junk. Well, we got so many people going for the okie doke that it's incredible. So what I decided to do is to host a show where we can actually get in here and discuss this thing. Now, we're not talking about Egypt tonight. We're talking about 5G, and we're talking about the corona. And I had to do this show, man, because people keep calling me on a daily basis wanting to know what my take is on this thing. And I have to keep repeating the same thing over and over, so I decided to just go ahead, address the issue on a broadcast, get it out there, and get it over with so everybody will know what my position is and where I stand on the issue. So now that you on here with me, and my guest, he hasn't come in yet, Dr. Bom Bay, he'll be coming in, press 1 on his phone, and they'll let me know he's in here. But anyway, what you think, man? You think this thing real, or you think it's a hoax, or what you got, man?
Well, there's a lot of areas that need to be covered here, Brother Tarhaka. One, even when you talk to some people, they try to come up with lame excuses to maybe say that this is real and whatnot, but they did no investigation. They ain't so much as went to a hospital, emergency room, or a ward where there was anybody who, where there's supposed to be a lot of people who were sick and ill from this virus and stuff like that. So, but they want to defend the position that we're in. But I can only say that goes back to something that was in already a problem before this even came along, and this goes back to the Willie Lynch syndrome. Teach them to not trust anybody but who? The master. And the master has spoken, and he says there's a coronavirus out here that's killing people all over the place. So they go on with what the master said. The programming is still working. In my opinion, black folks should be the ones who question this more than anybody, because they've been experimented on more than anybody in this country. So, but you got us staying at home while actually you got the opposite going on with some white folk or Caucasians, because they are protesting, protesting across the country saying, hey, in this thing right now, and they are tired of it. But yet we're staying at home, and we've been controlled by our leadership. Like, for instance, I'm in Chicago. Now, we got one of the baddest pit bulls in the whole country right here in Chicago. And that pit bull is Mr. Minister Farrakhan. Well,
okay.
But he's conveniently silent right now. He ain't saying nothing. If he is, it ain't making it out to the streets, to us and whatnot, So, but he's supposed to be a pit bull that we supposed to look up to his leadership to lead us in the way in which we supposed to be led. But him, as long as all the other people in Chicago, or whether they church ministers or preachers, whatever you call those people, they're all conveniently silent right now. Even your so-called black activists that pop up like Pop-Tarts in Chicago and go out and talk about their activists and stuff like this when they get shootings take place and all that kind of stuff, they even conveniently silent right now. Black Lives Matter. We talking about black lives right here, and in Chicago they saying 72% of the people that's diagnosed are black folks. So why aren't Black Lives Matter out there saying y'all lying or y'all telling the truth or something? They ain't saying nothing. So everybody is in the house, pretty much in jail, in their own house, going along with the narrative that they're trying to push. Our governor just come out and said that there's going to be no more school for the rest of this year, and that means all the way up into June. So, and then he even threatening to even close it down for the all summer events and all that kind of stuff. But I found out that basically he's in bed with the other group, the elite that is with Bill Gates, who wants to push for the mandatory inoculations and whatnot. So he's working with Bill Gates. He ain't working with Trump. Trump is saying his group that's got him out here saying, look, let's open this back up. So you got war amongst them going on right now. I noticed that when about a month ago, almost a month ago, Trump was saying one thing, and the doctor he brought on was saying something different. I'm like, wow, they sound like they're in opposite areas. When it came to this drug he's talking about, Trump said that it looked promising and we should use it and whatnot. What is it? It's hydrochloroquine or something like that. Trump was saying, I heard that Trump was supposedly threatening to spray the whole country with that. He told Bill Gates that, and Bill Gates said that would be a mistake. Even when Trump approached Bill Gates with the possibility of studying the effects of viruses vaccination on the people, headed by Robert Kennedy, Bill Gates said that was a mistake. So Bill Gates, my question is, why? What is he? What medical field is he in? Why is he out there being so vocal right now in the first place? His hands is too dirty to be talking about listening to him for anything outside of Microsoft, and we have to question that. But the bottom line is, who is he that he's out here so vocal? And if he's so vocal, then my question is, why is he so vocal? What's your take on this, and what is it that you're trying to get out of this, that you're trying to push? When you get into him, you find out that he's his daddy, his granddaddy, all was eugenists and whatnot, and they was into this whole thing of that came the backs Margaret Sanger and all that, and the selective breeding. So of course he gonna want you to take an inoculation with, and all that kind of stuff, and try to push that microchip inside of you, that and all that kind of that's So there's a lot of stuff out here that people are new to this. It's blowing their minds because they don't know what to believe right now, because they can't believe that this is something that's walked out of their TV onto real life now in their time right now. So that's why a lot of them are confused right now, But like I say, what in Chicago, I don't know about any place else. There's not been any these news reporters going inside the hospitals, inside the emergency rooms, or in any ward, showing us pictures of actual all these people sick. But at the same time, we do have some people dying. Well, you know, if you want to make your game look good, you're gonna have to have some collateral damage. You're gonna have to have some people dying in order to force them into doing what you want them to do. Wouldn't you do that? That would be a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
If you're trying to make people do this, you're gonna have to have some people die. But not even thinking about the fact that it's not. The numbers are not reached anywhere close to what the normal flu supposedly. And when I say normal flu, that was one that I think they manufactured anyway as well. But the numbers are nowhere close to the normal yearly number of people who die from the regular flu that's in the past that has been taking lives and whatnot. So what is going on and why? You know, is it going on? It's what people should be asking, and they should get out there and protest. Like in Chicago, Caucasians took to the street this weekend, and they were protesting. Well, black folks wasn't in those numbers, and us as people, we should have been out there in those numbers as well with them people protesting because, you know, who's hurting from this more than us? Nobody else is hurting more than us. But that we be in control and to stay at home. And you got your rebels on the streets of Chicago, and the warmer it gets, you see more and more of us on the streets here in Chicago. And of course, you know, they're usually your I would say my ignorant brothers and sisters who don't know, and they ain't got sense enough to stay at home anyway. But this has been the only time that I'm happy to see that they that ignorant that they still be out in the streets. You know.
Well, I got another caller with his hand raised. I'm gonna open up the line at area code 516.
516.
Area code 516. You're on the air. Area code 516. Last code number is 5709.
Greetings.
Greetings. Dr. Bom Bay. Welcome, my brother. Welcome, man. Come on in.
Thank you. I feel so welcome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Dr. Bom Bay, you want to give us your take on this thing, but before you do, you want to tell the listening audience who you are, about your products, and how they can get a hold to your natural products and your website and all that contact information.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. First of all, I'm a healer, you know, like ancient times healing, and being able to work with everything that God provided us on this planet, including energy, food, and various other things, oils and things to work with so that you can overcome our problems. I mean, a father in heaven, my father, your father, would not put a child on this planet without some sort of beneficial help, you know, without an ability or provide the ingredients to help heal whatever ails them on this planet, you know, because they're in the physical body. And I wouldn't put my son nowhere that I wouldn't give him the wherewithal to, you know, get himself together. You know, so, and that you have to do on your own. You know, God ain't going to do it for you. And a lot of times you think friends or people are going to do it for you, may not. You know, so that's when you find out who your friends are. But you know, but it's understood. You know, there's fear inside of people. It's causing so much fear and panic. It's taking people's heart out, which is probably why they called it Corona. You know, coronavirus. Because if you look at that white Jesus with that, he's got that crown on his heart. You know, there's your Corona, and when you lose the belief that your father didn't leave you with anything. You're in panic mode, and your adrenaline's high, your immune system's starting to wear down, and make yourself open to pathogens and stress, and causing more decrease in the immune system capabilities. So that only takes you another level, and then you have these frequencies. 1G, 4G, LG, whatever. They got names for this stuff, and the 5, it just seems to be in tune with the fifth dimension that we're in right now. That they're trying to, they felt that they probably have to make it even more powerful because this new dimension that we're in is supposed to empower us even more. But those are far and few between at this point. People that are feeling that empowerment is beginning is going to be even more profound as time goes on. There's always a response. Whatever it is that comes at us, there's always a response, and a lot of times there's responses that come from higher levels and whatnot. They have their higher levels in the fiction world, and we have our high levels in the real world. And they believe in their fictional characters just like we believe in reality. So, and the reality is we're here for each other. We're here to grow together. I mean, if you take a look at what Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci, as you mentioned, as you guys have been talking about, if you take them out of the equation, this probably would be a wonderful world.
Okay.
Because these.
That's right. You think they behind this here? When I came to this country, I didn't know English, but there was one show I really liked back in the days, and that shows you my age. It was Columbo. You know what I mean? And I love Columbo. My mother hated him, but I love Columbo. One more question.
So you're thinking like him, and you're like, wait a minute, how did I get up in this mess? And when you really stop and think about it, you say, well, let me go back to the beginning. So if you go back to the beginning, in 1981, this coronavirus testing was being done here in the United States, and it was stopped, and in 84 it was supposed to be banned, United States didn't want no part of it, so they sent it to China, and the National Institute of Health, which is headed by Dr. Fauci, who's the commander for that, CEO for that post in that organization called the NIH, funded $3.7 million for them to carry on the research, even though the United States banned it, and then they went to a foreign country to collaborate. Treason, man. If a San Negro like me walked in there and did that, I'd be shot right now.
Well, they get away with all kinds of stuff.
Quick. Yeah. They would shoot my asses off real quick.
Well, Dr. Bom Bay, could you tell us about your website and how to get over there?
Yeah, get to DrBombayProducts.com. That's DoctorBombay Products, PRODUCTS.com. And there's only about 12, offerings there. And just a combination of a few do tremendous things. One of them, which Brother Tarhaka loves, which is the haritaki fruit, which indeed is the king of the plant kingdom. It's not what I'm saying, and it's our Indian ancestry has quoted it as being the fruit of life and wisdom. And then it was quoted that Buddha, who was an Indian prince, then took it to the Far East in China. And if you see a picture of Buddha, skinny Buddha, with a fire at his belly, it's actually the same fruit floating in water, which causes thermodynamics, like Dr. Sebi said, which is your digestion. So when your digestion is on fire, then you can digest anything. And that's where your immune system is like at the highest levels. So there are many ways to deal with this coronavirus. Now, the two things that I have been stating and promoting for a long time, and it was with the instructions that were given to me, from higher levels, on time right now. The other one is neem. Africa is getting a lot of the neem trees out of India. We're sending it to them. We're sending it all over the planet because it's very important to have that in your nation, in your house, around your house, or whatever. Also, and I've been saying to people, look, take when they do your testing, what do? They take a swab and they stick it in your nose, in the back of your throat, and trying to get cultures or whatever they're trying to get. You take. You remember when I did the anointing? You take the oil, put on your pinky, stick it in your nose, paint the inside your nose, sniff it, get in your sinuses, because that oil provides a shield. No coronavirus, those pink things that break into the skin and everything, is not going to have a chance. No chance. So they won't be able to replicate either. So neem surrounds them. Neem ain't no joke. It is one of the baddest. But with anything, you have to be careful. People that have an organ transplant cannot use it. Women that are pregnant cannot use it. They cannot use it. And breastfeeding, they definitely cannot use it. But it boosts your immune system to levels you can't believe. So as long as you have your body parts, it'll take your immune system through a boost. Amazing, amazing boost. And, people talk about, well, I need to know about studies, who studied this. In India and in our country, the doctors study these things with their eyes wide open. They don't do no placebo test and this test and that test. You know what I'm saying? So we, some of the people I'm working with, they sent to the World Health Organization about the neem, and we broke it down on there about the 175 activities of the neem phytochemicals from leaves, bark, flowers, fruits, and seeds. So the whole tree is beneficial. And ACE inhibitor, I'm just going to read off a few, androgenic, anthelmintic, anti-acne, anti-adenomic, anti-androgenic, anti-aging, anti-allergic, anti-Alzheimer's, anti-anaphylactic, anti-urginal, and this is just the A's we're talking about right here. Anti-cancer, anti-carcinomic, breast cancer, anti-chlorogenic, anti-choletic, anti-complementary, anti-convulsant, anti-Crohn's, anti-CVI, anti-dandruff, anti-dementia, antidepressant, antidote, aluminum, calcium, anti-edemic, anti-elastase, anti-feeding, anti-fibrosarcomic, that means no more fibrotics, anti-gastric, anti-gingivitic, anti-GAF, anti-hemorrhagic, anti-hemorrhoidal, anti-hepatotoxic, antihistaminic, anti-HIV, anti-hydrophobic, anti-insomniac, anti-inflammatory, anti-implementation. Now, that's important. Anti-implementation. That means if you have an implant.
I'm sorry, Dr. Bom Bay, but with this anti all of that, I'll take a couple of those.
Well, you got it right there at DrBombayProducts.com. All you got to go over there. You got the Haritacus root over there, the neem oil, and you got a whole lot of other stuff, all natural.
Let me ask the doctor a question, though.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What's the difference between the 321 oil and the regular Naim?
Well, the 321 contains the neem, the nilgiri, and the tulsi.
Oh, okay.
Three oils.
Okay.
Right, there's three oils. So, Nilgiri and Tulsi help with the condition of pain and healing hairline fractures, bone on bone, all kind of crazy stuff like that. And if you breathe it, and what we found recently is I had some people with some conditions where they couldn't breathe, the chest was congested, closing in. We took the 3-2-1 oil and anointed them 3 times in the nostrils, ears, and all that, 3 times, and breathing in deep. In 15 minutes, like, condition was totally gone.
Wow. I'll take it. You'll be hearing from me, Doctor.
Well, I tell you now, you take that neem oil and you put a few drops in the palm of your hand and take your pinky and wet it real good and put it up in your nostrils, both nostrils, and put it in your ear. And then you put a few more drops in my hand and I'll rub my palms together until they get hot. And I'll cup my hands and inhale and exhale about 10 times, and make sure you got your paper towel close by because you're going to sneeze. And when you blow your nose, it's going to pull all the mucus off your brain. You have a knock, and you're ready to go. Then I'll take the 3-2-1 oil. If you stopped up and your nose stopped up and you can't breathe, and you take that 3-2-1 oil and put it in the palm of your hand, rub it around and wipe it on your face, that opens up everything. I mean,
oh man,
you would think somebody else spraying the gasoline in your face, boy, because everything will be open.
Yeah, you won't be lost in space no more.
No, you
won't be lost in space no more.
Yep. You sold me. I'm sold. I hope those people out there in the audience I hope your listening audience is listening right now because they need to be trying to get that information and go to that website right now too because Brother Yoel would be going there.
I hear you. Well, you take run you a tub of water, and I put the 3-2-1 oil in my bath water, put the neem oil in my bath water, and I soak in there, and take you a good long hot soak with that neem oil and that 3-2-1 go. And man, now you get out the tub, you be floating through there. You you feel good.
Wow. Okay.
You take your haritaki fruit, put 7 pieces of fruit in a gallon jug of water. Let it sit overnight, and make sure you ain't got nowhere to go the next day. And drink it as much as your belly can hold. And I always go to the toilet within the next 15 minutes, and sometimes 10 minutes, and it purges the mucus out of the body, and you are full of life. And after that, all you got to do is just drink you a glass of it a day, and when the water get low in the bottle, just fill the bottle back up with some more water, and start over. Just drink you a glass a day. That's the king of the plant kingdom. That because just like Dr. Saban said, there's only one disease, and that disease is mucus. And what these things does, the neem and the haritaki and some more of them, they pull the mucus out the body. And after that, you talking about feeling good. You be full of life. You alert. Because you've purged your body from that which slows you down and causes you to be sluggish and all of this stuff because you gotten rid of the mucus.
Wow. Okay.
Well, now what I got?
Let me. When I was dealing with this years ago when I first started, there was, poverty and recession and all that kind of stuff. So I came up with, I prayed to God and I came up with these 2 products. One being the haritaki fruit, and the neem oil, which I call the divine health plant. Let me just say a little bit more about the neem. Y'all need to hear this. Now, for the treatment of dermatological disorders like psoriasis, herpes, eczema, purities, and acne vulgaris, inflammatory conditions, infected wounds, abscesses and ulcers, optimal care, eye care, ear infections, sinusitis, alopecia, and hair care, snake bite, and scorpion sting, rheumatic pain, gout, etc. Internally, neem is used for dental hygiene, for treating malaria and filaria, typhoid, digestive disorders, liver disorders, intestinal worms, hepatitis, splenomegaly, respiratory disorders, tuberculosis, urinary disorders, gynecological problems, diabetes, hypertension, cancer, leprosy, leukoderma, allergies, etc. Infectious diseases such as smallpox, chickenpox, and measles, which they stuck in us when I came to this country, vaginal disorders, sexually transmitted infections, and AIDS, even AIDS, which is the same virus that they transmuted into the coronavirus. And neem is one of the best-known antiviral agents.
Wait a minute, say that again, Doc. Say that again, Doc. Repeat that last statement.
I said infectious diseases such as smallpox, chickenpox, and measles. When I came into this country, they inoculated. I couldn't get into the country without this kind of inoculation. And I had these 2 marks on my arm that show it still. That was for those things. But beyond that, this thing, vaginal disorders, sexually transmitted infection. If you take the Harataki water and you put neem oil in it, you can do an enema and knock out your polyps without going to a GI and having them removed.
Wow.
And for women, if they douche with it, and women, fibroids melt right out of them. And yeast infections, all kind of stuff go away.
Now let me. Looking at your site, it looks like the prices are reasonable too. That's the most important thing people in the listening audience need to know too. That you ain't got to pay an arm and a leg for these products either. People, it looks like they are very reasonable and for the masses of the people here. Is that right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and the problem right now is because of the lockdowns with the countries. This is all I have, so I'm kind of pressured to, kind of raise prices while I be unemployed until they open up again. But I have enough some products now, and I just want to let the family know first that I'm limited and get an opportunity to get it, and then I have to decide what I'm going to do, because if I can't, I'll have plenty of oil that you don't have to worry about. But Harataki and the neems and stuff like that, it's going to be a little while before I get those products back from India, which is locked down, and we're locked down over here.
Well, I know you.
They keep talking about the supply chain, man. The supply chain is killing me.
I ordered some stuff. I ordered some things back in December, and one of the products that I ordered back in December just arrived last week. So, you talking about?
Wow.
I had it on the list. I kept looking. I said, "Well, where's my stuff? Where's my stuff?" And finally, the mailman came up and gave it to me, and I couldn't believe it. I said, "Man, here we are in April, and I'm just getting this stuff, and I ordered this back in December. It is incredible, man. This thing done messed everybody up. I got a plug to run, fellas, and Dr. Bom Bay. This guy that's going to be speaking, he's going to give us the breakdown on this coronavirus thing, and he is from India. You probably know this guy, man. He ran as a politician, and when the people found out that they were going to be running against him, they said, "No, we don't want to run against him. We guaranteed to lose, because if he get in office, all the junk going, because he gonna blow the whistle and get rid of the whole nine." So what I want to do while it's still early in the broadcast, I want to run this in plug, and then we'll come back and we'll get back on down into this thing. And I want to go ahead and run this, because I listen to this guy, man. He's outstanding. And I think the whole world need to hear him. So without further ado, y'all hold on a minute. And I will be right back, and I'll open back up the phone lines, and then we continue. But in the meantime, we're going to hear what this guy got to say. So y'all hold your hats, get your paper and pencils, and get ready.
An exclusive interview now, a top doctor exposing everything the deep state is trying to hide about CV. Welcome to the Next News Network, my friends. I'm Gary Franchi. We are in day 9 of the Trump administration's 15-day Slow the Spread campaign. But the man who at the age of 14 in 1978 invented email, yes, the inventor and copyright holder of email. Oh yes, Dr. Shiva, welcome to the Next News Network.
Great to be here, Gary. Thanks for having me.
You posted something last week that I reported on your tweet, and this is where you said that the CV fear, the fear-mongering by the deep state will go down in history as one of the biggest frauds to manipulate economies, suppress dissent, and push mandated medicine.
I've been a student of politics since I was a kid because I grew up in India, which had a caste system. I was considered an untouchable, which is the lowest of the Indian caste system. The medical system we're moving towards is a top-down system, totally controlled by big pharma, big ag, and big vaccine manufacturers. Sustainable development goals, signed off by the United Nations and all their countries in 2015. It's called SDG 3, which was signed in 2015. They paint a utopia, Gary. It's this utopia of the elites. Subsequently, in an Immunization 2030 document as an addendum to that, they say the way we get to utopia, these 17 goals, is we must immunize everyone on the planet, e.g. vaccinate everyone. And the reason this is important is, look, I created a company called Cytosol, one of the other inventions I did out of my PhD work, to use the computer to understand chemical reactions in our body and on our cell, basically use a computer to model diseases so we could eliminate the need for animal testing. So Cytosol is this amazing invention which allows me to do in a different way what my grandmother did intuitively, which is to understand the combinations and mixtures of chemicals to figure out medicines from food and natural products faster, cheaper, and safer. When I built that, I said, wow, pharma guys would want to use this because it takes them 15 years to build a drug, $5 billion. And I don't know if you know this, the pharma industry is in peril right now. They're not making any money, really any money from pharmaceutical drugs because lots and lots of investment in R&D, and they're getting less and less new drugs allowed by the FDA because of their toxicity. So what pharma companies have moved to is vaccines. The 1986, the Vaccine Court was created. John Kennedy implemented the National Vaccination Act in 1962 under a fake science or an outdated science of the understanding of the immune system. That led to many injuries that took place between 1962 to 1986. In a response to those injuries, another Kennedy, Ted Kennedy, led the creation of the National Vaccine Injury Program, which led to the creation of the vaccine courts, not in the judicial department, but under Health and Human Services, which basically allowed indemnification of vaccine manufacturers so you couldn't sue them, and the maximum liability for death was $250,000, okay? And so we're at a situation now that for pharma companies, vaccines are pure profit, no liability, no risk, they can't get sued. When I came into looking at the one-size-fits-all vaccine program, there were other activists in this field, and frankly, many of them were controlled opposition. People like Bobby Kennedy was playing a good game saying he's against vaccines. Meanwhile, he endorses Hillary Clinton, who is vaccine queen, okay? So the position I took was I said we need to really educate people on the immune system. You'll see the videos I started doing. They started going viral, and the movement started taking off. And then, in fact, 5 days before the coronavirus stuff hit, about a week before, is when we won a major victory in New Jersey against these vaccine mandates. The deep state of a few set of people, from the Gates Foundation to the Zuckerbergs to Hillary Clinton, congealed with the UN and the deep state elites. They're going to fear-monger on coronavirus because of the ignorance of the medical profession. Most MDs do not know what the immune system is. They don't even study nutrition. Based on that ignorance, they were going to scare the hell out of people with the coronavirus to essentially say, we need to do this for the quote-unquote common good. That's what we're seeing go on.
There's speculation, considerable speculation, that the virus is actually a manufactured bioweapon. Now, the State Department, among others, are pushing back against that narrative, simply calling it Chinese and Russian disinformation.
What happens is this kind of virus, if you think about a big ball representing your cell, these little particles land on that cell, and their goal is to get into the cell and use your cell's machinery to replicate themselves. We have about 380 trillion viruses in our body. It's called a virome. We have about 60 trillion bacteria in our body, and we have about 6 trillion cells, which is what we're made of. Coronavirus is a class of viruses that create flus. These ones create respiratory syndrome. The coronavirus in Wuhan was a different strain than the one that was in Iran versus the one that was in Italy. And there's reports that I've read, it's hard to verify a lot of this, that all of those different viruses go back to one common branch, which actually goes back to Fort Detrick, in the United States and North Carolina. The U.S. deep state sent people over to Wuhan, and that's how it got given in China. This is one theory. Whether it came in or not, my view is that if you believe in the concept of a set of people who don't care about the U.S. national interest or the Chinese national interest or the Indian national interest or Italian, they're more care for their own global interests. You could view a scenario where it got created by the deep state and got put out there. What was going on at this time? Hong Kong was blowing up. Remember that? And what people do not know is 6 months before the coronavirus, there were massive anti-pollution protests by Chinese citizens in Wuhan. You don't protest in China without risking your life. It's not like they have the First Amendment there. So large numbers of people are taking to the street and protesting, tens of thousands, because the Chinese government was going to build one of the largest incinerator plants there, which was going to just spew out pollution. And the people in China, the everyday people, really care about their health, and there have been pollution protests since 2007, extremely growing, and then you don't hear any news about it. You see Hong Kong completely disappear, serves the globalists. When you're a student of politics and a student of medicine, you start seeing these connections. Of the 30 vaccines recommended by the CDC for young kids, not one of them has been a saline placebo control tested. And in fact, the one that they said they did a test on the HPV Gardasil vaccine, it was a fraudulent test.
That doesn't surprise me. So what do you think is going to happen with this vaccine? Do you think they're going to roll it out? Do you think they're going to mandate it like they just passed that law in Denmark?
What they're saying is there's this boogeyman called the virus, and you need the vaccine to help you stop that, okay? Boogeyman, savior. Savior's Bill Gates, Clinton Global Initiative, etc., Big Pharma. If you actually understood the immune system, it's laughable. The reality is the immune system has evolved over billions of years. We grew up in bacteria and viruses. We're supposed to play out in dirt. That's how the immune system gets turned on. So what happens is it's people who have immunocompromised immune systems, which means their immune systems are not firing on all cylinders. So imagine you have 3 cylinders, it's only firing on 2. You know what happens? The third cylinder has to take up all the effort, right? Well, that third cylinder in immunology is called cytokines. It fires so hard that it overreacts. And it starts not only attacking the virus surface, but also starts attacking your own tissue. So it's your own body attacks itself because of a weakened and dysfunctional immune system. Well, how do you get a weakened and dysfunctional immune system? Eat sugar all day. Eat a diet that no longer has any vitamin D and nutrients. And that's why I wrote that letter to the President of the United States. This is really about immune health. This is the fact that we don't get enough vitamin D, we don't get enough vitamin A, we don't get enough vitamin C. I mean, there's other things, but we can focus on those 3 things. In Chad, in African country of Chad and Djibouti, there's only been 1 COVID case and no deaths. Why is that? Well, because people live probably lives that we should probably think about living. They're out in the sun. They're, digging up roots. We may consider these people third world. So the solution is pretty simple. At least get out in the sun. If you can't do that, you got to boost up on vitamin D, vitamin D, vitamin D. We're not getting sun. We're not getting fruits and vegetables. A depleted culture for 25 years. Monsanto, those pesticides affect the gut microbiome, restore our gut off, and then we're eating high sugars. I mean, it's a recipe for death. But we're not addressing that. We're like hyping up this virus. And what is the result? You have people hiding out in homes, people getting ready to accept fascism, not addressing the fundamental issue, which is immune health.
I'm envisioning a time where we're going to see the same thing. coronavirus vaccine is free for everyone today, right? So that's, I think, a future.
Well, it's going to be even more. It's going to even be more unfortunate than that. It'll be, oh, Gary, you know, your driver's license is coming up for renewal. Did you get all your vaccines? You can't travel. Hey, you can't take the train or the bus. Hey, you can't go to the gym. You can't go here. This is where this is headed. A gym will say, well, we can't allow you in here, Gary. You know, we don't want to harm all of our other people, right? Do you remember when, who was it? Michael Jordan played with the flu. People are like, wow, look at Michael. You know, he's playing there with the flu. He's strong, right? This entire thing is a master setup. It's chess move after chess move. And it's brought to you by Anthony Fauci.
But now we're learning from the WikiLeaks drops that he is a huge supporter of Hillary Clinton, and somebody you have actually called destructive. Why should we be concerned with the advice that the president is getting from Fauci?
Anthony Fauci, in my view, should be indicted. If people actually knew what this guy actually did, he's been with the government since Reagan times, 40, 50 years. And then Bush and Obama and all of the presidents up to here. How did he build his career? He built his career on the false narrative that HIV causes AIDS. Peter Duesberg, who I've spoken to, who was a truly great scientist, you know, the youngest guy to get tenure at Berkeley. And Peter said, wait a minute, there is no causal relationship between this virus, HIV, which he considered a very harmless virus, and AIDS. He was vilified, you know, all of his grants went away, and the guy that promoted this lie was Fauci's predecessor by the name of Gallo, Robert Gallo. Robert Gallo was brought up on scientific misconduct charges. He literally stole the HIV virus from France. He couldn't produce enough of the virus because they couldn't find it. He created a bogus HIV test. Fauci came to his rescue. I think there was a power play. Fauci essentially took the lead. Gallo was put into the back, and that was the beginning of this guy's career. You know, he writes about how he hangs out with Bono and, you know, remember the whole AIDS and all the stupid celebrities getting involved in this nonsense, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Fauci, he's a veteran of this. This ain't his first rodeo. He learned how to create bogus science, to promote bogus science, to create the fear of HIV causes AIDS. Billions of dollars were spent on this. A lot of people died because people used drugs like AZT. I had a very good friend of mine who died from it. And, you know, people didn't learn HIV is frankly a harmless virus. Okay? The people who were dying from it were, again, immunocompromised. Gays at that time, you know, were having 1,500 partners. Were doing meth, amphetamines, all sorts of drugs. They were destroying their immune system. You had IV drug users who were destroying their immune system, and you had people getting blood transfusions, not because of the virus in the blood, but because they would get immunosuppressive drugs. The simple point here from a scientific standpoint is when you lower and you destroy the immune system. So Fauci doesn't want to talk about that. Everything is about the boogeyman of viruses. Fauci knows what he's doing. He is the face of pharma and vaccines, and he sees his opportunity to become, you know, the hero in all of this.
The one big narrative that I've seen that's been presented is that, well, more people die from the flu. But there's this massive, massive, terrifying visual of people being intubated and people eating bats and all this horrific visual propaganda. And now states are in lockdown mode. National Guard has been deployed. State guards have been deployed. Tents are being set up in cities and in Walmart parking lots and hospital parking lots. And you're having this spirit of fear descend on this country and the world at large. But why don't we do the same thing for the flu?
You have to understand, pharma and media work very closely together. Many, many years ago, you know, one of the companies I built, I had my second life with email. I originally did it for the Clinton White House. They ran a contest. I was a graduate student at MIT to automatically read and process emails. I ended up winning that contest, Gary, and I started a company called Echo Mail. When I created that technology, I had many people starting to want to use this for analyzing email. One of the companies that was very interested in knowing about this was one of the leading PR companies in the world called Burson Marsteller. And I remember going out as a young entrepreneur, I was running my company, meeting with one of the senior executives. And this was over dinner, and he was openly boasting about how Burson helps companies in crisis management. And he was saying that Eli Lilly at that time was having a major problem. Prozac sales were going down. And I said, well, what did you do? He goes, well, first I went to Eli Lilly, changed their branding. Hey, you're no longer a drug company. You helped the world. The second thing he goes, I had them do was spin out some nonprofit companies. One of the nonprofits, he said, was a company which said, we need to protect battered women. And that organization took out ads, which was full-page ads, which would, if you saw it in a newspaper, would say, is your husband beating you? Do you know of someone, one of your friends, whose husband is beating them? Make sure they're taking Prozac. So they create a narrative of we're trying to help the distressed, and we are the drug company. We want to help all these darkies in Africa and India, etc. You know, we need GMOs. Gates is a savior. These guys are very clever at spending millions of dollars to create the narratives of helping the quote-unquote the oppressed, and then they will inject them with their pharmaceutical drugs. These indigenous people actually knew how to take care of their health, but they don't want us to believe in our grandmothers. They want to believe in this idiot, okay, Bill Gates, who, by the way, never created DOS. He didn't write 50,000 lines of code. I did. And, you know, his mama and papa introduced him to people and bought someone else's DOS and flipped it. But he's a Harvard dropout, and he was able to patent his stuff, so he gets to be a gazillionaire. You see what I'm saying? Or a Zuckerberg. Mm-hmm. So these guys have built false histories of their eminence in the technology field. They leverage it to say they're going to be saviors, and that savior solution is not food, is not exercise activities. It's about injections into the bloodstream of people and to control them. That's what they're talking about. And every American needs to wake up that the lawyer lobbyists, the people I'm running against 3 lawyer lobbyists, I'm the only scientist or an inventor, a guy who works for a living. These lawyer lobbyists are the people who implement the desires of the deep state. That's what's going on. So what we're witnessing right before us should be a wake-up call to every person. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent. The issue of health goes beyond all those parties, and what you'll realize is all of those establishment parties want to hurt you and want to control you. They want to make you a little atomic unit where you become a revenue generator for people like Fauci's clan and these kind of people. And no academic at MIT, Harvard will say anything. You know why? Because they owe their grant money to people like Fauci. Because it's a cabal. If you say anything, you're out. That's what happened to Peter Duesberg. Wow. So that's what we're dealing with. And unfortunately, the president, he may have good gut instincts, but he's not able to expose these people. I have had calls from senior level economists all over the country saying, Shiva, I saw your videos. You need to keep doing them. The president is being bamboozled by this circle around him. And that's why I wrote that letter, Gary. That letter basically lays out in 4 pages very clearly what the problem is, that you have a fake science of the immune system. Here's the real science. And I actually proposed to the president a protocol, which is basically vitamin A, D, C, and some iodine. And I said, let's triage people into 4 groups. Those people are COVID, let's put them in one group. Those people are immunocompromised, let's give them this group. Those people who are in critical care, let's give them a particular IV vitamin C. And the third group, who are healthy, let's give them some maintenance dose and get them back to work. That's what we should be doing, not one-size-fit-all medicine. This is treat everyone like they're basically part of the, some deep state party, right? We're just minions. And in fact, in 2003, when I went back to MIT to pursue my PhD, MIT created a new department called Biological Engineering, which I was one of the first early graduates. And one of the tenets at that time was personalized medicine, the right medicine for the right person at the right time. So people like Fauci aren't even practicing modern medicine. He's practicing outdated fake science medicine. It's criminal.
Now, you're currently running for Senate in Massachusetts as a Republican against Ed Markey.
Massachusetts is really the epicenter of the deep state. That's what Massachusetts is. It's not Washington, D.C. If you actually take the deep state and you put a microscope, you go to 100x and you go deeper and deeper zoom, then you start seeing the swamp scum. And if you go deeper, you find out the connective tissue of the swamp scum is a bunch of lawyers and lobbyists. And that swamp scum comes in a 1-mile radius between MIT and Harvard, all of them. Our election for U.S. Senate is no longer a U.S. Senate race for Massachusetts. We have so many volunteers coming from below, a lot of mothers, women, and as well as from outside of Massachusetts, because they see this as an election for truth, freedom, and health. They want one of them fighting for them, a working class kid who worked his butt off. I'm running against 3 potential guys, right? Markey, who's been in Congress for 50 years. People should start asking, what can you make? Can you make a piece of software? Can you build a bridge? Do you know how to fix nothing. Because they were afraid that I would beat him, they ran another dope, Joe Kennedy. Again, a nice, guy who's a liberal aristocrat. $70,000 private schools for high school, gets into Harvard Law School, gets a nice DA job on the Cape where he can hang out with his family, hang out in the sun, and now he believes this is his inheritance, already has $50 million in inheritance, and God knows how he made that, right? He didn't. Everything I've earned, everything you've earned, most of us earn money for a living, right? These guys have no skills, nothing. And then when they knew that I'd probably beat him, Gary, they decided to run in some other moronic lawyer who's got like 100 Twitter followers in the GOP establishment. But the bottom line is this election in Massachusetts is really going to be the dialectic that represents what's going on in this country. Producers versus parasites. That's what we're looking at. Do we want to vote for producers, people who make stuff, or do we want to continue voting for parasites? And especially in a time of crisis like this, who do we want helping us? Look at who Trump's surrounded with. He's surrounded with vipers right now. Total vipers. There are really three forces in any political situation. Two of them are against the people. Only one of them is for the people. One of the forces is the existing overt establishment, openly out there to want to screw people. And everyone says, oh, yeah, they're the establishment, right? And then you have everyday people on the ground who want to change things. But in between change agents and the establishment comes a third group, what I call the NSOE, the not-so-obvious establishment. It's almost like a force of nature. And the not-so-obvious establishment is created by the establishment that speaks the rhetoric of change like Warren was just doing. I want to help the grassroots. They act as though they're for the people. When what they do is they exist to speak that rhetoric to sucker young people who want change into their vacuum, and they suck them back into the establishment. Controlled opposition, Gary. That's what Warren is all about. She talks about she cares for people, all of this and that, but ultimately what she cares about is strengthening state capitalism, crony capitalism, and you can see that in a very simple way. The way you can test these guys on it is they always want to do regulations, right? And ultimately what you realize, regulations actually help the big guys. So she supported Dodd-Frank. Dodd-Frank actually supported banking regulations, which only 5 of the big bankers could afford, and it destroyed nearly 2,000 to 3,000, 4,000 small banks. What made America great, and hopefully will continue to, is the small banks. We have 12,000 small banks. You want to get a loan, you build a relationship with your local banker. You don't have to go to a behemoth bank like in other countries. So Elizabeth Warren's policy of regulatory policies help the big guys. Mark Zuckerberg right now wants to be regulated. You know why? Because he can keep out smaller Facebooks out because only he can be able to afford regulatory policies. So it's a backhanded way of supporting the establishment. They always speak about regulations as though that's going to help everyday people. What it does, it actually increases cost, and it's a way to keep out the small guys.
Let's talk about some of the things Elizabeth Warren and the rest of the Democrats believe need to be included in this CV relief bill. Okay, the first one rather shocking. I mean, the laundry list that they've included is, it's ridiculous. No voter ID to get a ballot. And anonymous ballot harvesting. How does this correlate to the pandemic, and how would this affect your campaign, your race?
Well, I think there's another provision in the bill also for going cashless, right? To creating a digital cash for the...
Creating a digital currency, a digital U.S. dollar. That's another point as well.
Yeah. What I believe is happening right now before our very eyes is the invisible enemy, quote-unquote coronavirus, is being exploited, and this is all very well planned, to execute all the imperialist agenda of the deep state. So you want to eliminate all borders. That's what essentially eliminating voter IDs is. I mean, I was shocked. I never voted in my life because I didn't care for electoral politics. When Trump ran, was the first time I voted because I liked the fact that he was a disruptor and he was going after both parties. And I remember going to vote. They didn't even ask for my ID. I said, you don't need my ID? They go, nope. Total opportunity for cheating. These things like the cashless society, again, they're using the fact, oh my God, we don't want people passing viruses by touching cash, right? It's basically a pretext for essentially going to negative interest rates. They own our money. Nothing is tangible. Everything is tracked. Everything you use is monitored. It's basically the advance of top-down rule. The 5G issue, I've been asked what do I think about from a health standpoint. I haven't had a chance to go into that, but I can tell you 5G is an opportunity to put cameras everywhere with AI, the same AI we gave to the Chinese to watch lip movements, so you can understand what people are saying. It's not a future of innovation. It's a future of using technology to head us into the dark ages. When you suppress free speech, you basically move to scientific consensus. There's no more scientific method, which means you actually have to do experiments and find the hard thing of what's actually taking place. With scientific consensus, you can create lies, and from which you can use to create a fake problem and a fake solution. Oh my God, CO2 is a pollutant. Fake problem. And you create a fake solution. We need to impose, carbon tax. Well, the real solution is we need to lower pollution. And the Paris Accords allows China to pollute, going from 11 billion carbon metric tons to 22. India gets to pollute. Fake problem. Oh my God, these viruses are going to kill us all. No, fake problem. The real problem is we have immunocompromised people. The real solution is how do we beef up the immune health of people? Well, that means we have to attack corruption because these corrupt lawyer lobbies politicians are the ones who destroyed our air, water, and food. So they don't want to talk about that. They rather move this thing to control you, quarantine you, vaccinate you. This is a black and white choice. Do you want truth, freedom, and health, or do you want power, profit, and control? That's where we're at. And a lawyer and a lobbyist is not going to deliver that.
I know that this interview is going to go viral, much like a lot of your other work has, because we've touched on so many points here that are critical to this very moment in American history. I mean, we've been going on for, I think, over 80 minutes now. This was supposed to be a 30-minute interview, but I'm really happy that we were able to give you a platform here to present these ideas. We're going to make this thing viral. Everyone watching right now, please make sure you go to the website. It's on the screen, shivaforsenate.com. Dr. Shiva, before we go, do you have any final thoughts?
If people want to understand everything I've talked about and to keep it simple, if you can take a piece of paper and draw a triangle, on the bottom left, put a little ball there and put freedom. On the top of it, put truth. And the bottom right, if you put health. Now, all of these things are connected. So let me explain. It is from freedom that we can unravel truth. And it is from truth we can figure out the health for our bodies, our infrastructure, our society. And it's only when we're healthy do we have the warrior spirit to go fight for our freedom. People who make something, who create something, have skills, they're really our future. Because they get that climate change was a CO2 hoax.
Friends watching right now, I want you to hit the links below. And if this interview inspired you, I want you to consider sharing it right now across all of your social networks. As always, we will continue the discussion in the comment section below, and that's where we'll see you next time. For the Next News Network and Dr. Shiva, I'm Gary Franchi.
All right, everybody, we back. Brother Yoel, Dr. Bom Bay, y'all still with me, man?
Yeah, that was interesting because I've been wanting to hear that interview. His another guy, Dr. Buttar, Rashid A. Buttar, followed right behind him, and you got to hear this. You got to hear this. Hold on one second.
Yeah, I heard that one. I've been listening to that one for the last 2 or 3 days. Buttar.
We had 10 times the normal amount, and that was it. It wasn't a big deal. It didn't bother me. However, as I started looking at this information, as I started seeing that this is actually a chimeric version, something that was developed here in the United States in 2015, was published in Nature magazine, that it was developed in the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, where all the initial studies were done. The chimeric research, despite having a moratorium by the U.S. government to prevent any chimeric research. By the way, just so your audience understands, chimeric research basically means that they're taking a naturally occurring substance, a virus in this case, and then mutating it, genetically modifying it, changing the configuration morphologically to gain function. It's called a gain of function study or gain of function research, and that basically means that they're making something that already may have some potential to cause harm, making it more harmful, making it more virulent, making it more resistant. And basically that's what I found, that they took the SHC014 strain of the coronavirus, the surface antigen component, and brought in the backbone from the SARS coronavirus, put them together, and then inserted HIV and MERS orthologs on top of it to make a more virulent, more detrimental virus. Now, the thing is that
if I can jump in for just a moment here, because what I think you're talking about is the moratorium that was placed, and then $3.7 million from the National Institute of Health was transferred to China so they could continue this research, even though the moratorium. So they basically outsourced this research to China. Is this the same topic we're talking about here? This news is just breaking.
Yes, this is exactly right. So it goes back to 2014. The U.S. government decided, based upon certain virologists at that time, saying that, look, there's no justification for this kind of research. There's a potential for it to cause harm, cause a pandemic, so there's no justification for us to do this type of research. So the government passed a moratorium in 2014. Fauci approved budgets to be money to be section for this type of research. So basically, and I'm getting really, every time I think about this, it gets me really flustered because I'm so angry that he basically broke the law. He more than broke the law. He created this entire cascade that we're seeing with the world shutdown was created by this initial aspect back in 2015. He broke the law. He went against government moratorium. He took taxpayer money and he funded research that is now led to the COVID-19. In 2017, he was documented at Georgetown University saying that there will be a pandemic that this presidency will face, that this term will face. How did he know that in 2017 that something was going to happen in 2018, 19, or 2020? There's no, you can't predict the market from 3 days from today what's going to happen. How did he know that there's going to be a pandemic? He stated the president of this president will face a pandemic. The exact quote, I don't want to say the exact words. You guys have the video footage. My point is that when somebody starts making these type of statements, and then they were involved with the breaking of the law to fund the research that American taxpayers paid for, that then go to Wuhan and now trying to create this diversion and say that it's China. God, I don't know whether it came from China or released in China, or it was already released here. It's irrelevant. The complicity of what's going on right now, whether it was released in China or whether it was already here or however it happened, the U.S. system has condoned it, has jumped on it, they're opportunistic, they're shutting down the economy when they know, in fact, that there's no basis. I mean, there's no virus that at least 6 feet or 12 feet, now they're saying 13 feet. Complete misinformation. And I'm sorry that you pulled the chain on me right now, but the mainstream media, when the Surgeon General came out and said that basically the Gates model, the Fauci model, the World Health Organization model was not going to be followed anymore, and they were going to look at the actual data, the actual numbers. The mainstream media didn't respond at all. All they said was, it seems like we're going to be going to 2022 before people can assemble together. That's what ABC put out. And Fox, or the New York Post put out, it seems like that the 6 feet of social distancing is not going to be sufficient. It needs to go to 13 feet. There is no virus bacteria that jumps 13 feet. It defies every logical aspect of science and medicine. And what really, really pisses me off is that there's thousands, tens of thousands of doctors and scientists out there that know that this is a fraud, and they're not saying anything. Either one, they're scared of social ostracization because they're going to be called out, or social shaming, or they're afraid that they're going to lose their license. For God's sake, this is changing the planet, and every scientist and every doctor that knows this to be a facade needs to open their mouth and speak. There is every aspect of science has just been literally picked up, thrown in the toilet, and flushed down. It's like everybody's ignoring it. The fundamental aspect of how the human system works is being ignored. Physiology is being just put in the garbage bin. Every aspect of virology and infectious disease is being ignored. Coach postulate has been ignored. Every aspect. Then you've got false positives coming from testing that we know is not adequate, and then the testing that they are doing, like the RT-PCR, the real-time preliminary chain reaction testing, that's already been shown. It was actually developed in the 1980s. You cannot use it for diagnostic purposes. You have to use it only for where something has a genomic sequence that's already been identified. You can't use it for diagnosis. Yet they're using it for diagnosis. And when that's not enough to justify the number of deaths that they're causing doctors and nurses to go back and change the death certificates to say COVID-19 is the first cause of death. And if that's not enough, now their mandate is being sent to every state, every doctor from every state medical board saying that there's no necessity to test. I got a letter like this myself. If they have symptoms, send them home. And then the mandate of listing the cause of death is COVID-19. can't even show ambulances that are doing anything. They're all parked. They're all sitting there. People are playing chess. They're playing card games because they're so idle. Nurses are being laid off right now because there's not enough work. But they're pushing this agenda of fear, fear, fear. The fear-mongering itself will increase your adrenal output, will cause more stress, more emotional distress. The emotional aspect, one side, now you're talking about the financial aspect. People are going to get stressed. Guess what that does? It reduces your immune system and makes you susceptible to viruses, bacteria, to many other things. But then to create this illusion over something like COVID-19, which nobody has yet demonstrated a single death from the actual virus, from the proper, established, accepted methodology that a virus has caused this death. Nobody's been able to do that. It's all based upon PCR testing. And Gary, I don't know whether you know this or not, all the way back to 1984, all the way up to now, 2018, there are multiple studies that show that if you had the flu shot, especially the trivalent flu shot, false positives on COVID-19 testing. God knows what's been injected into people over the years. They really want to know cause of death. I want to know how many of these people that are supposedly died from COVID-19, which, by the way, still the numbers are less than seasonal flu. The number of deaths is still less than the seasonal flu. But I want to know how many people that died of supposed COVID-19 actually had a history of a vaccination, an adult vaccination in the last 10 years. That's what I want to know, because the studies clearly show that if you had a flu shot, you're going to get positive for COVID-19. So you got all this other stuff that's going on. They can't justify the numbers, so they're going to change the death certificate. They can't justify the numbers, so they're going to take different footage of different people and then attribute that to COVID-19. They just had, CBS had that nurse that was crying, saying, please give me a face mask so that I can take care of people, and I don't want to risk my family getting them infected. And then they find out that hasn't worked in a hospital in a year and a half, and she's some kind of a social media model. The amount of misrepresentation, deception, diversion tactics to keep the public from knowing the truth. It's just unbelievable. I cannot believe.
So let's take it back to what you said at the beginning of this fascinating statement you just made. I mean, I'm blown away, and all our viewers are right now. But so we're going to take this back. Is Fauci directly responsible for this pandemic because he maneuvered the money, he maneuvered around the moratorium, kept this chimeric research going in China? Is he directly responsible for not just the pandemic, but also the response that's killed the economy? What, 17 to 22 million people? Is Fauci directly responsible?
I'm going to say this. I think that I've seen some petitions going around. I know Dr. Shiva said that Fauci should be fired. I think that's the nicest thing that could be done to Fauci. I think he has shown he's a criminal. He's broken the law. He's going against the government. I mean, to me, that seems like it's a traitorous thing to do when the government has passed a regulation and he's at one of the highest levels in the NIH. He's got a directorship at the NIH, and then he breaks the law. He breaks the moratorium, and then funds research against something that was supposed to cause the entire world, and he's in collusion with the foreign government to do things. I don't know. That's not a return to decide. But I'll tell you something. Fauci goes back to 1981. In 1981, he called HIV/AIDS the gay disease, and he was the one who funded the research behind the drug 3 years before it was even established that there was a real virus. So the virus was established in 1954. In 1981, he was pushing the agenda of a drug prophylactically to treat people for a condition that is now seen to be related to lifestyle, nutritional status, all sorts of other things. He was pushing the agenda to push a drug that caused so much harm as a prophylactic, is to prevent HIV. Like, this goes back 1981. We're talking 39 years. This guy has a history of pushing an agenda. Here's a question I want to ask you, Gary. Forget about the audience for a second. I just want to ask you a logical question. So here's the president, regardless of whether you are for the president or against the president, forget about that. The man is elected. He's the president of the United States, and it is our responsibility as citizens to follow the directive of our commander-in-chief. Whether you agree or disagree, that he went through the process, he got elected. So get off that bandwagon, people, and stop Democrats and Republicans. He's the president. He deserves our support. But now the president comes out and says there's a drug called hydroxychloroquine, which has been on the market for, God knows, 50, 60, 70 years, and another drug, Zithromax, which has been, it's a macrolide that's been around for at least, that class of drugs has been around for at least 70, 80 years. Maybe Zithromax has been around for, I don't know, 20 years, whatever the case is. These are established drugs. They're safe drugs. patient. There are doctors that have shown at least 99% efficacy. They've shown hundreds and hundreds of patients have treated. Nobody died. Symptoms resolved within an hour, hour and a half to a day and a half, 2 days. Okay, so you've got this class. The president brings it out. And Fauci says, unless there's some studies to show that, it should not be used. Yet he's promoting a vaccine that we have no idea what the hell that's going to do, and he says that's okay to use? I mean, if that does not show a conflict of interest, I don't know what does. People need to wake up and realize there is a massive criminal component to this. This entire world economy, this whole world economy shutting down, it comes back to one person, in my opinion, and that's Fauci. Now, there's other people that are involved with this charade, obviously, but Fauci is the person that they put up in the front, and Fauci is the one who had the ability to stop it. Fauci has told a friend of mine, Judy Mikowitz, who I was doing an interview with, this is about an hour earlier, she went to jail and spent 5 years. She was threatened by Fauci 10 years ago when she came out to say that the viral studies and the research that she had done, she was in charge of doing the research in Ebola to make it more virulent. The gain of function studies on Ebola, she was responsible for that. When she realized the stuff that she had developed and the stuff that she was researching was being used for nefarious purposes and she was going to be a whistleblower, her career was threatened and more, her life was threatened. She refused to back down. She went forward, and guess what they did? They framed her and they put her in jail for 5 years. She's got a book that came out today, I believe it's called Plague Something. Just came out today. I'm telling you right now, Fauci, it can all be traced back to Fauci, but Fauci is just one of the players. There's other people, and you can start looking with the agenda. It's wide open. Anybody can go in and do their own internet search. They just need to open their eyes, they need to open up their mind, and they need to be married to no decision or outcome. Just look at it for yourselves, people. You've got your brain. Use your own brain. Come up with your own sequence of events, how it happened. Do the research, and you will, if you're following a logical, sequential thought pattern, you'll come to the same conclusion.
All right, man.
Okay. Now, you know what, Dr. Bom Bay, earlier today, I was on a conversation with a young lady, and she said she wanted to send me something. She was going to text me some information, and she texted me that entire interview there, and I attempted to upload it to my switchboard, but it was 48 minutes, and I can't do 48 minutes and won't let me do that amount. But I really wanted to get that and play that in its entirety because that brother there, he was laying it out, and he got so stirred up he was cussing, so they had to censor him with beeps. But I got that whole thing that was sent to me today that you just run, but I just couldn't get it up on the switchboard. So I hope the listening audience listen to the brother and got some of it out of there. Brother Yoel, you still with us, man?
Yes, sir. I'm still here. I have to say that I've listened to that interview too for the last 2 or 3 days. My daughter sent it to me, and the man is, first of all, sounds like somebody who knows what he's talking about, and he got a lot of background in history here. So he was very passionate about his position, and I have to applaud him for coming out like that and putting himself out there because he could be in a very compromising position, but we need to listen to what he got to say. So he's also a guy who we need to listen to, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
But
now, wait a minute, Dr. Bom Bay. Hold on 1 second. Brother Yoel, now you got to let us know now how we can get a hold of them books and where you're at and how we going to do that now.
Okay. Well, of course, once again, the name is Brother Yoel, and I'm calling out of Chicago. You can contact me through the Underground Bookstore in Chicago. You can do the telephone number is 773-768-8869. That's 773-768-8869. Or you can email me through the Underground Bookstore at gmail.com, the Underground Bookstore at gmail.com, or Underground Bookstore the number one at gmail.com. Those are the ways that you can contact me and get all those rare books that you might have been trying to find and you haven't been able to find, and you need somebody like me, a private investigator in the business for 26 years, to investigate and see if I can find it for you. We kind of specialize in doing that. So new, used, old books, any books that you're looking for that you can't find, or those that you really want to get right now that are not old books. That's what we do.
Okay, fantastic. All right, now, Dr. Bom Bay, you was about to say something?
What?
Well, no, I'm glad that you all had that video. I didn't know, I had I had it in the background, so I said, let me just share it with you. But yeah, I mean, there's things going on, and the year being 2020, and what do they say about our vision? It should be 2020, and maybe this is the time to open our eyes and look at everything that's been going on, and transform it into wisdom, and serious knowledge. Because there's a lot going on, and 1970 might have been the year of the opening of the seventh seal when the truth came out, but right now I think we are on the hyper truth right now. We need to get to that hyper truth immediately, for our sake and for our children's sake. So
okay,
everybody
I got a caller with his hand raised at area code 314. I'm open up the line and see who we got here. Area code 314. Tell us who you are, where you calling from, what's your question or comment. You're on the air. 314.
How you doing, son? Tarhaka, this is Pianki.
Pianki, what's happening, bro? Gentleman, I need
and by the way,
come on in here, man.
By the way, Pianki is on my birth certificate, which was created decades ago. But
okay.
People you was playing made some very interesting points. And one, the gentleman said that the human body has evidence, really, of contacts with over 380 trillion viruses.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, in the history of the human species, starting back before they was fully developed, like your Australopithecus, Pablos, and Erectus, and they weren't full human beings, you wouldn't want to have a female Australopithecus laying in bed with you. You wouldn't sleep with both eyes closed. Those humanoids have always came in contact with what we call viruses. And viruses are very intelligent. Viruses want to live, and they do what's necessary in order for them to live. Like the gentleman says, they will invade a host and use the tools and mechanism that cell used to reproduce. It would mass itself, mutate. Parasites do the same thing. If you put clove or walnut extract in your system, that's for killing parasites. That parasite will run and hide in your body. And there's microscopic pictures showing them doing just that. So that's the inner workings of life, Tarhaka. That's what it's all about. There's things that's trying to kill you all the time, trying to survive off of you. When that baby is born, that baby comes out into a world, and people say that the baby has been nursing through its umbilical cord for its internal structure. That's true, but its skin is not protective enough to keep things from invading it. So that's why when they come down through their vagina and is baptized with the mother's fluids, those fluids provide that little shield. And the same thing with an egg. How do a chicken breed when it's being developed in the egg? Nobody knows. I mean, nobody even think about that. It breathes through the shell. That shell provides oxygen to go into and provide that chick with oxygen while it's developing in the shell. So I just wanted to put that out there, man. That was a good program.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad you called in.
I just like to say that that was wonderful what you said, and it's so endearing. But what I wanted to let everybody know, and the confidence of where we are, is the fact that this coronavirus and all these other viruses that have been created, they're not natural. They're not born in nature. They don't exist in nature. So if you were to take the coronavirus and any other virus of that sort and put it in nature, it would die immediately because it cannot exist in nature. It needs a host.
And you're absolutely right. Man has taken it upon themselves to try to create things for dubious reasons, and that's when you have these problems. Mother Nature has been doing it best for a long time. And the man made another important point, too, about the people in certain African countries. People in African countries have a stronger immune system than Americans. Now, why is that? Well, because Americans, their environment is highly sanitized. Your immune system don't have to deal with the things that people in developing countries have to deal with, i.e., open sewage, contaminated water, and compromised foods. So they have to deal with it all the time. So their immune system has developed all sorts of tactical methods to ward off that which comes from those exposures would try to kill them. United States citizens have to do that. Your water is good. You can drink with it. You can even wash your car and it won't get sick from the water you drink. So,
we can talk about that one.
So if we think of it, women that give birth, women that give birth by C-section, there has been some reports that those people that were born that way do have some problems with their immune system because when they came out, the bacteria and everything else in the air jumped them. And I have to give you an example. You ever been in an elementary school, walked into a kindergarten room? Soon as you go in that room, man, it feel like you being jumped with stuff. Them kids need to be sprayed down every hour because they be carrying some germs. They do. The little rascals be carrying some germs, man. Yeah. So these conversations is good to have. Coronavirus viruses is people with these underlying issues. It's just like a war. America could probably fight on 5 fronts. They could probably fight in the Pacific. They could probably fight down in the southern hemisphere. They could probably fight a war in Europe. Okay, well, your body's already doing that. Some people got high blood pressure. They got arthritis. Arthritis is a disease. Some people have diabetes and obese with the things that obesity bring about. Well, your immune system is fighting 3 and 4 fronts. Now, all next thing you know, here comes your coronavirus. And your coronavirus is entering in on a flank. It's sneaking up. Well, your immune system just ain't got the ability to pull troops away from the mother bowels and go fight that coronavirus. Not right off anyway. So the coronavirus will get in there and kick butt. Yes, sir.
It comes down to your digestion. The whole world digestion is off because the food we're eating is not real. If you look at the tomatoes and whatever else you buy out there, a lot of them are not real. They've been hybridized.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. They don't taste like they did when I was a kid.
Exactly. But they don't. And I was in India
and the fruits. The tomato was smaller, but it tasted great, and the banana was smaller, but it filled you up. You felt full, you felt warm and good in your stomach. Now it just feels like bulk, and that's why everybody's digestion is off. I don't care if you're a vegetarian, vegan, or whatever you are right now. It don't matter because your digestion is off. And that's why that harataki is so, so important in this day and time, that we're able to use that to bridge where we're going, back to the way we used to be when we grew our own food and things like that. This should be a lesson to us that we need to get back out there and become astronaut farmers, not just piling up on top of each other.
When I go to Egypt, that's the best tomatoes that I ever had. The watermelon. Have watermelon for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's just so, and the further south you go, by the time you get down to Aswan, that watermelon is off the chain. I'm sorry, Mississippi. But you made a good point there. You made a good point there. Many of these groups in the world, whether they're in the Amazon forest, in the bush, in Africa, they just seem to stay as they have always been. So guess what? Maybe when modern civilization meets its demise, people will end back up where they came from, in the bush, trying to survive.
Yeah, I mean, how can you have a progeny if you don't protect the seeds? You have to protect the seeds that feed you, and you have to protect the seeds that you put out there. So in order to help them, you have to have that balance with the other seeds that grow the food, that nourish them, We're trying to nourish our children with all the knowledge and information, but if we don't nourish them body-wise, we're not going to get there.
Well, if it's up to Bill Gates, you won't be able to get any of that anymore, because he was just quoted last year as saying that he spent $9 million to get his seeds from Monsanto's into Africa to the small farmers in Africa, throughout Africa, and I think they're already in India and other places and whatnot. So that would be history if you leave everything up to him. But let me just say this, Tarhaka, that I think it was Dr. Rashid Buttar that said that if you've taken the flu shot in the past, if you go get tested now, you will automatically test positive for the coronavirus. That's important.
False positive. False positive.
Yeah.
Well, Bill Gates is very dangerous. Bill Gates is very dangerous because he talks that population control. And they talk about limiting the population, not only in the world, but especially in Africa. You know that Nigeria at the end of this century would be the second largest population in the world, projected behind India. It'll surpass China.
Oh, okay. Now, there's another lady that used to work for the military some years ago. There's a video out about her, too. I think it was on the Philip Matthews show. Her name was Elder Nicole Hurst. She said that based on her knowledge and working for the government and whatnot, she said that she traces it all back to the 5G technology, and she says that the 5G also does not only affect people who have already compromised health issues, but she said here it has the ability to give you diabetes if you don't have the diabetes because of the amount of radiation that it's putting out. So I don't know how much of that is true, but it's something to think about.
It's a good point.
Well,
what else, fellas?
What that does, what the 5G frequencies, what they do is that their frequencies, they're like microwaves. And what they do is they poison your cells. And it affects your RNA and your DNA, both of those. And it breaks off a chunk of your RNA and your DNA, and it's excreted out of the cell. And when they test it, that's your virus right there.
Yeah, and I tell you another thing, too. When people live a lifestyle that they weren't made to live, that creates stuff, too. Men was not made to lie with men, women with women. And when man lie with man and the process that they go through to do whatever they doing, Tarhaka. When they get done, they go to the shower and wash. That water goes down the drain, work its way out into your major water bodies, and you don't know what the hell is in there that would develop and all of a sudden turn into what we don't like. Think about it.
That's correct. That's right. All the water that we got today, I have a machine called the John Ellis water machine. And the water that I drink is free of deuterium, because the water that goes through the water supply that comes through your faucet and in the store and bottles and bottled water and all this stuff, it has deuterium in it. Now, once you start drinking this deuterium depleted water, which is real pure because it goes through a heating and cooling process, just like water coming through a volcano, just like Dr. Sabi in the Ocean Institute was pumping water from ancient volcanoes going into the healing wells. But now once you start drinking this kind of water, you're going to have to make sure that you put calcium and magnesium back into the body because you've depleted all of the bacteria and bad stuff, but you also remove some stuff that we might need. So I do the John Ellis water. That's the only water that I'll drink. But then at the same time, I'll do, when I get up in the morning, I'll do me a scoop of calcium and magnesium and fill the glass up with that water, and I drink that down. And on a daily basis, now I'm ready to go. And a glass of water in the morning, when your feet hit the floor, you're going to have a bowel movement in less than 20 minutes. And before you go to bed at night, you drink another glass, a full glass of water. And so while the body rests, the water, the body will have something in it in order to get you ready for the next day, so that you can purge everything out of the body that you put in it the day before. So that's my routine on that there. That's on a daily basis. And to me, age is not nothing but a number, because I'm like James Brown. I feel good. So I do that. That's what I do on a daily basis.
Well, you ever take any chlorophyll, Tarhaka?
No chlorophyll. I don't take any chlorophyll.
Think
I'll
about
do me
that.
some Creole oil, ginkgo biloba. I'm definitely eating fruit a day. Every once in a while I will broil me some fish and pepper, sea salt, and butter. And I'll preheat the oven up to 450 degrees for 20 minutes, and then I'll stick that pan in that oven and let it go for exactly 15 minutes, and I take it out after 15 minutes, then I'm ready to go. But a piece of fruit, I'll start off with a banana. I got me some seeded grapes. I got me some mangoes, and but I eat a piece of fruit every day, sometimes 2 pieces of fruit a day. And then I'll like a lot of times I'm at night, late at night, if I'm working or whatever, I'll get them grapes, and I'll go to work on them grapes and drink that water and stuff. But needless to say, I'll be alert and in tip-top shape, no sluggishness, no laziness, no nothing. And of course, I have to stop sometime and just let the body just rest. Just, I can get in there and I can do things, but I unplug the computer and cut all of that off, because I downloaded a EMF detector onto my phone. I went around the house detecting the highest parts of radiation with this thing, and I'm able to get in the car and drive somewhere. If I see a tower, I'll point it at that tower, and that'll show me how much radiation coming off that tower. So I do that on a regular basis.
Well, another thing, people. Well, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was going to say before I leave the conversation in a few minutes, but that what we are saying here is my message to the people who are listening in the listening audience is You have to become responsible for your own intelligence. Believe nothing of what Brother Tarhaka says, Brother Yoel says, Tianke, or Dr. Bom Bay, for that matter. Do your own research and find out if we are in error and we need to be corrected, or what you will find that we validate what we're saying to you according to that information and that intelligence that you gather. But you need to do that, and we can no longer depend on anybody else for that intelligence. And as long as you got these other folks out here are doing the stuff that they're doing, like the Dr. What's his name, Fauci, and all of that. That I noticed that man and President Trump was at odds from the beginning when they first started doing television interviews together. They were at odds with each other. So now I know that man goes back. When you do the background check on him, you will see, and I think in one of those audios, I think the one that Shiva, he brought it out, that this guy goes back to got a whole history of being on the wrong side of the people and being controlled by the 1% that's behind him. He and Bill Gates seem to be on the same page, but Donald Trump and whoever the people who got him in office seem to be on opposite sides of this thing with him and Bill Gates. But it's interesting if you sit back and you listen to not only what they say, but what they don't say. So that you can decipher for yourself who's telling the truth and who's not here. So that's all I have to say. But I'll won't be able to finish up the conversation.
Yet.
Okay.
I want to pass on some more
now.
information to you.
Minutes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to say this. Now, people are talking about doing their own garden. Mm-hmm. Now, that soil needs to be sanitized. And let me tell you how you do it. If you can take some leaves or some wood chips and mix up in the soil, then you pile the soil up in what's called a burn. It can be 100 feet long, but it should be as high as you can get it, and leave it. And that wood, that carbon inside that you mix in the soil will start to break down, and while it's breaking down, it would heat. The temperature would get up to over 150 degrees, and as it does that, it kills off pathogens. That's the same thing that goes on in a poultry house. When they take the chicken mulch and they pile it up in a burn and they leave it, and as it heats up, it kills off pathogens, bacteria, and even viruses. So make sure that your soil is sanitized. Some people take soil and can put it in a pan and put it in the oven and bake it. It does the same thing. That's just a word of advice.
All right.
Sounds like good advice.
From that. Come on, Dr. Bom Bay.
Well, what he's saying is good. I mean, when you can take nature to do its own dirty work, so to speak. You could take the neem, for example, the neem oil, and spray it over the land, and it will refertilize the land, even if it was taken away by hybridized products that were grown there. It'll also make the worms come up and aerate the soils naturally. So, and people think about it as a pesticide. That's after the fact when it's grown. You start at the beginning, and you're going to have a crop that's going to be so strong and resilient because, remember, neem is the 9-star general. That antiviral, antifungal, anti-everything.
Well, that's
and the other problem. Oh yeah. Now the other problem that when they talk about this climate change nonsense is the world is heating up. If you grow enough neem trees, 30 degrees cooler underneath a neem tree, period. That's why Mahatma Gandhi and various people hold their meetings underneath the neem tree. That's why people sleep underneath the neem tree, because the bugs don't want to come down there. There's so much oxygen. And when you sleep underneath the neem tree, your oxygen levels are high.
How soon can I get some of that, Naeem?
You
just go on the website.
Right over there, Dr. Bom Bay website. You get you a bottle of neem, and like you have, let's say you got answers out on the pavement. I had them right around my steps. I went out there and put that neem and put me a line of neem down there where the answers at. Boy, look at him. They gone. They done. They carrying it. This stuff here. It is a natural product, but that stuff's something else, man. I done bought so much of neem oil from Dr. Bom Bay. I got a surplus of neem oil around here. And my son, his mama called me and say he was moaning and say he had a toothache and had an abscess. And I had gave her a bottle of neem oil. I said, take that neem oil and put it in a glass and make sure he put some good hot water in there, hot as he can stand it, and put it in his mouth and shake it around. Don't swallow it. And but just shake it around in there. And then I do that every hour on the hour. And the next day, I called over there to the house to see how he's doing. He answered the phone. I said, what you doing? Well, I'm out here barbecuing. I said, you barbecuing? How you barbecuing? You got a toothache. I said, man, I put that neem oil in there. And this morning I stuck my finger in there to feel the abscess, and it exploded. And everything came out. I said, well, okay. He said, I'm hungry, so I'm out here barbecuing.
So, Dr. Bom Bay, I don't want to wait 4 months to get that neem. So I don't have to wait 4 months to get that neem, do I?
Nah. You order online, brother. Let me tell you what happened. My post office, the Highland Park Post Office in, Detroit. We're south of Detroit. We're like 2.5 miles, and y'all need to find the property over here because this is going to be a hot joint in a while again. This was the hottest address in a long time ago. But anyway, so the post office is about half a block from me, right? So I went in there and I gave everybody a 3-2-1 oil as a gift. You know what I mean?
Really?
I anointed them, and all that stuff. And I walk in there smelling like it and everything. Everybody like, wow, like they feel like the ladies were breathing again. I can't believe I can breathe again just from walking by them, you know what I mean? The vapor is so strong, So we got no problem at my post office. And about 3 Sundays ago, I went to the post office downtown because they open on Sundays, right? So I walk into the post office, and there's one sister behind the counter, right? And she ain't got no mask on, and she jumping up and down and jubilant. Her husband is a jazz player, because she bought a bottle of 3-2-1 from me. And she put that on, man. She said the whole back is quarantined. She's the only one working in the front.
Wow. So when I go to your website, right after I get off this call and I order that, how soon can I get that oil?
Well, Friday mail. It'll get out there fast. I can't control what happened with the post office because they were backed up 3 days of delivery that Sunday.
Okay, because I'm going straight there now. I'm asking because I'm going to be one of the first to go there. Somebody ain't beat me to it already, okay?
Nah, man, you ain't got to worry. We got plenty. We got plenty. It's called, the thing is, my other products are basically quarantined because of the countries. But the neem oil and the tulsi oil that I can put together as a 3-2-1, it's not going to stop for a while. I mean, that's one thing I'll definitely have, but the other stuff I can't guarantee.
Okay.
Well, that neem oil is good.
Ordering.
That neem oil is good, especially for toothpaste and brushing your teeth, especially them young teenagers. Them teenagers, they be eating so much junk, their breath be cutting up, man. And that's why that chlorophyll is good too. Because if you sit on the toilet and you defecate,
tell me about that.
Yeah, if you sit on the toilet and defecate,
you would never know it's in your water, Tarhaka. You would never know it's in your water.
Yeah, and if you sit on the toilet and defecate and you about to pass out from the fumes, it's something going on ain't supposed to be going on. So take you some chlorophyll.
Oh my God!
I tell you what, you could just do a regular, and this is something that every man's supposed to be doing anyway. When your feet hit the floor in the morning, the first thing to do is to drink a full glass of water, because you need to purge everything that you've done the day before, and you should be able to do that within 15 to 20 minutes. And then you're ready to start putting stuff in. If you're going to eat some breakfast or whatever you're going to do. But what happens anytime you hear someone tells you that I haven't had a bowel movement in 2 days, that's an individual that is in trouble, because you're supposed to have 2 to 3 bowel movements per day. Sometimes I have 4, and I be I be full of life because of the habits that I continue to do, because my priorities are arranged properly. Work and business and money and all of that stuff there takes a back seat to your health. You gotta have good health. It ain't gonna do you no good to have $100 million and you got poor health. It ain't no good.
Well, you don't want to light a match around somebody and had a bowel movement in 2 or 3 days.
Well, I tell you what, you're absolutely correct. Do you know that the body contains methane, and you can take and I'm gonna have to tell y'all this, but you can take a man that you can light you a match, and a man break wind, and you hold that match behind his butt and send out a blue flame. Come out his So you got methane gas up in there, man. You got to get that out of there by flushing yourself out, and make sure you stay flushed out, because when you eat something, it's going to stay down inside the body, and the temperatures and the heat and the acid and stuff, and it rots. So you're going to have to keep it cleaned out of there. They got this thing called a colonic, and I think it costs you maybe about $1,500 to $2,000 to have a colonic, where they clean all 25 feet of your intestinal tract. Well, you don't have to spend that kind of money. You drink a glass of water in the morning when your feet hit the floor, and before you go to bed and you know you're done for the day, another full glass of water. Now, you might have to get up during the night, but that's okay, and go and do what you got to do. But in the morning, repeat the process and make sure that you got some fruit and you some vegetables and stuff. And but when you start eating cookies and potato chips and ice cream and candy and bologna and spice ham and pork chops and pork ribs, and you start eating all that right there, man, it tastes good. But boy, the after effect is gonna get you. You gotta leave that alone.
I heard that.
I had I went out. A friend of mine came and picked me up day before yesterday, and they said, I want to take you and show you where I've been living for the past 20 years. And it took me out way out south side, way deep out there. And I noticed that all the people out there where all the rich folks live, everybody jogging, they walking the dog, they doing this, they doing that. But I noticed not one single individual had a mask on. I didn't see nobody with no mask on. I didn't see nobody with no rubber gloves on. None of that. I mean, this is a very, very exclusive area. But they took me to the grocery store. When I walked in this grocery store, I thought I was walking in an emergency room in a hospital, because all the employees in the grocery store had on masks and gloves. And all of all the people, the customers, ain't nobody got on no mask and no gloves. I said, now, wait a minute. When I go back on my side of town into the grocery store in the area where I live at, people ride down the road with masks on. They're coming in the grocery store with gloves and masks on, and employees, the customers, everybody with masks and gloves. So I come to the conclusion that this thing is not a virus. This is some mental stuff that people got going on. Nobody's doing any research. Nobody's doing an investigation. They're just going on what somebody say because they've been watching TV and all of this foolishness. Instead of doing an investigation and coming to a conclusion based on what you studied.
Brother Tarhaka, like one part that I heard, I don't know if anybody else picked up on it, is that 6 feet distancing. You know, and like Dr. Batar was saying, that virus don't jump 6 feet. Now they're talking about we should distance 13 feet. You know, let me tell you something. If a virus can jump 6 feet, it needs to get the Olympics gold medal like a MNF, man. I'm telling you. Because a little bitty thing like that, jumping 6 feet is like jumping 6,000 miles. You know. I mean, that boy deserves the record every time. You know, every time he's going to deserve the record. So this whole 6 feet. When you look at the satellites, you know, the towers are being set up, but the towers are being broken down. But the satellites are already in place, a lot of them, and they can heat seek you and identify you, but they need time and they need space. They need 5 feet around you. So they see a heat. They seek your heat, and if you're standing with 10 people, it looks like one heat instead of 11 people. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So they want to get you away from each other so they can heat seek you, identify you, lock you in. Just like they want to lock you in.
I'm going to try to deal with that. I'm going to try to deal with that right now, Dr. Bom Bay, because I got this other plug. This is an NSA whistleblower. And I'm going to run this. It's only going to be for a few minutes. And then we'll come right back, so I'm going to see what he got to say about this here business. So y'all hold on a minute.
My name's Ed Snowden. I'm 29 years old. I work for Booz Allen Hamilton as an infrastructure analyst for NSA in Hawaii.
What are some of the positions that you held previously within the intelligence community?
I've been a systems engineer, systems administrator, senior advisor for the Central Intelligence Agency, solutions consultant, and a telecommunications information systems officer.
One of the things people are going to be most interested in trying to understand who you are and what you're thinking is there came some point in time when you crossed this line of thinking about being a whistleblower to making the choice to actually become a whistleblower. Walk people through that decision-making process.
When you're in positions of privileged access, like a systems administrator for these sort of intelligence community agencies, you're exposed to a lot more information on a broader scale than the average employee. And because of that, you see things that may be disturbing, but over the course of a normal person's career, you'd only see one or two of these instances. When you see everything, you see them on a more frequent basis, and you recognize that some of these things are actually abuses. And when you talk to people about them, in a place like this where this is the normal state of business, people tend not to take them very seriously and move on from them. But over time, that awareness of wrongdoing sort of builds up, and you feel compelled to talk about it. And the more you talk about it, the more you're ignored, the more you're told it's not a problem, until eventually you realize that these things need to be determined by the public, not by somebody who is simply hired by the government.
Talk a little bit about how the American surveillance state actually functions. Does it target the actions of Americans?
NSA and the intelligence community in general is focused on getting intelligence wherever it can, by any means possible, that it believes on the grounds of sort of a self-certification that they serve the national interest. Originally, we saw that focus very narrowly tailored as foreign intelligence gathered overseas. Now, increasingly, we see that it's happening domestically. And to do that, the NSA specifically, targets the communications of everyone. It ingests them by default. It collects them in its system, and it filters them, and it analyzes them, and it measures them, and it stores them for periods of time, simply because that's the easiest, most efficient, and most valuable way to achieve these ends. So while they may be intending to target someone associated with a foreign government or someone that they suspect of terrorism, they're collecting your communications to do so. Any analyst at any time can target anyone, any selector anywhere. Where those communications will be picked up depends on the range of the sensor networks and the authorities that that analyst is empowered with. Not all analysts have the ability to target everything, but I, sitting at my desk, certainly had the authorities to wiretap anyone, from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president if I had a personal email.
One of the extraordinary parts about this episode is that usually whistleblowers do what they do anonymously and take steps to remain anonymous for as long as they can, which they hope often is forever. You, on the other hand, have decided to do the opposite, which is to declare yourself openly as the person behind these disclosures. Why did you choose to do that?
I think that the public is owed an explanation of the motivations behind the people who make these disclosures that are outside of the democratic model. When you are subverting the power of government, that's a fundamentally dangerous thing to democracy. And if you do that in secret consistently, as the government does when it wants to benefit from a secret action that it took, it'll kind of give its officials a mandate to go, hey, tell the press about this thing and that thing, so the public is on our side. But they rarely, if ever, do that when an abuse occurs. That falls to individual citizens, but they're typically maligned. It becomes a thing of these people are against the country, they're against the government. But I'm not. I'm no different from anybody else. I don't have special skills. I'm just another guy who sits there day to day in the office, watches what's happening, and goes, this is something that's not our place to decide. The public needs to decide whether these programs and policies are right or wrong. And I'm willing to go on the record to defend the authenticity of them and say, I didn't change these. I didn't modify the story. This is the truth. This is what's happening. You should decide whether we need to be doing this.
Have you given thought to what it is that the U.S. government's response to your conduct is, in terms of what they might say about you, how they might try to depict you, what they might try to do to you?
Yeah, I could be, rendered by the CIA. I could have people come after me, or any of their third-party partners. They work closely with a number of other nations, or they could pay off the triads, or any of their agents or assets. We've got a CIA station just up the road in the consulate here in Hong Kong, and I'm sure they're going to be very busy for the next week. And that's a fear I'll live under for the rest of my life, however long that happens to be. You can't come forward against the world's most powerful intelligence agencies and be completely free from risk, because they're such powerful adversaries that no one can meaningfully oppose them. If they want to get you, they'll get you in time. But at the same time, you have to make a determination about what it is that's important to you. And if living unfreely but comfortably is something you're willing to accept, and I think many of us are, it's the human nature. You can get up every day, you can go to work, you can collect your large paycheck for relatively little work against the public interest, and go to sleep at night after watching your shows. But if you realize that that's the world that you helped create, and it's going to get worse with the next generation and the next generation who extend the capabilities of this sort of architecture of oppression, you realize that you might be willing to accept any risk, and it doesn't matter what the outcome is, so long as the public gets to make their own decisions about how that's applied.
Why should people care about surveillance?
Because even if you're not doing anything wrong, you're being watched and recorded, and the storage capability of these systems increases every year consistently by orders of magnitude, to where it's getting to the point you don't have to have done anything wrong. You simply have to eventually fall under suspicion from somebody, even by a wrong call, and then they can use the system to go back in time and scrutinize every decision you've ever made, every friend you've ever discussed something with, and attack you on that basis to sort of derive suspicion from an innocent life and paint anyone in the context of a wrongdoer.
We are currently sitting in a room in Hong Kong, which is where we are because you traveled here. Talk a little bit about why it is that you came here, and specifically there are going to be people who will speculate that what you really intend to do is to defect to the country that many see as the number one rival of the United States, which is China, and that what you're really doing is essentially seeking to aid an enemy of the United States with which you intend to seek asylum. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So there's a couple assertions in those arguments that are sort of embedded in the questioning of the choice of Hong Kong. The first is that China is an enemy of the United States. It's not. I mean, there are conflicts between the United States government and the Chinese PRC government, but the peoples inherently, we don't care. We trade with each other freely. We're not at war. We're not in armed conflict, and we're not trying to be. We're the largest trading partners out there for each other. Additionally, Hong Kong has a strong tradition of free speech. People think, oh, China, great firewall. Mainland China does have significant restrictions on free speech, but the people of Hong Kong have a long tradition of protesting in the streets, of making their views known. The internet is not filtered here, no more so than any other Western government. And I believe that the Hong Kong government is actually independent in relation to a lot of other leading Western governments.
If your motive had been to harm the United States and help its enemies, or if your motive had been personal material gain, were there things that you could have done with these documents to advance those goals that you didn't end up doing?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anybody in the positions of access with the technical capabilities that I had could, suck out secrets, pass them on the open market to Russia. They always have an open door, as we do. I had access to, the full rosters of everyone working at the NSA, the entire intelligence community, and undercover assets all around the world, the locations of every station we have, what their missions are, and so forth. If I had just wanted to harm the U.S., that you could shut down the surveillance system in an afternoon, but that's not my intention. And I think for anyone making that argument, they need to think, if they were in my position, and you live a privileged life, you're living in Hawaii in paradise and making a ton of money, what would it take to make you leave everything behind? The greatest fear that I have regarding the outcome for America of these disclosures is that nothing will change. People will see in the media all of these disclosures. They'll know the length that the government is going to grant themselves powers unilaterally to create greater control over American society and global society. But they won't be willing to take the risks necessarily to stand up and fight to change things, to force their representatives to actually take a stand in their interests. And the months ahead, the years ahead, it's only going to get worse until eventually there will be a time where policies will change, because the only thing that restricts the activities of the surveillance state are policy. Even our agreements with other sovereign governments, we consider that to be a stipulation of policy rather than a stipulation of law. And because of that, a new leader will be elected. They'll flip the switch, say that because of the crisis because of the dangers that we face in the world, some new and unpredicted threat, we need more authority. We need more power. And there will be nothing the people can do at that point to oppose it. And it'll be turnkey tyranny.
Okay, y'all, let's take a look at the health benefits of moringa powder. We got it right there at newdeadelimination.org. Now, moringa powder, when it comes to the moringa benefits, there are almost too many to count, in my personal opinion. Is the delicious, spinachy, green flavored, perfect for boosting your curries, your stews, your casseroles, soups, salads, green smoothies, and much more. It's 25% plant protein, including all 9 essential amino acids, 24% fiber. It's a rich source of iron, vitamin K and E, a source of vitamin A and calcium, high in antioxidants. Moringa powder has 10 times the vitamins of carrots, 12 times the vitamin C of oranges, 17 times the calcium of milk, 15 times the potassium of bananas, 25 times the iron of spinach, and 9 times the protein of yogurt. As moringa powder is a natural source of these nutrients, it is highly bioflavorable, so your bodies can absorb the benefits more easily. NewDebtElimination.org. Get your moringa powder today. NewDebtElimination.org.
Okay, everybody, we back. I'm opening up my line for my special guest, and I'm going to see who's still with us. I know Brother Yoel told us he had to go. Dr. Bom Bay, you still with me?
I'm still here.
Okay,
yes,
Brother
sir.
Yoel, you still here? Okay.
Yes, sir.
What y'all think about that interview with Snowden, man? They had a time with him.
Well, it sounds like he's trying to pretend to us that, well, at least he's coming across as he's not necessarily anti-people or working for the establishment. So I don't know. We have to watch his moves or watch what he says is one thing. We have to see what his action is, So that's what ultimately makes a man what he is, and not what he says out of his mouth, but what he does. So that's all I have to say.
Dr. Bom Bay, what you think, Dr. Bom Bay?
Well, we're in 2020 vision. So keep your eyes open. Watch every movement. Witness everything, because this is a time to witness everything. And everything that you're witnessing is going to unfold in front of you if you keep yourself honorable in the process. And, just be patient and just keep your eyes open, because a lot of it is about to tell himself. In some forms, the chicken's going to come home to roost, and in other forms, there's going to be some things that are going to happen. And we have to be ever ready to change as the change happens, because that's what's going to keep us alive and forward and progressive or whatever, along this we're going to be riding, and we're riding now. So, just protect yourself, protect your family, and keep things that'll help pull you through whatever the process or whatever time frame. And because we don't know, I drove from Detroit to Toledo. I was on my way to Akron, and there were so many chemtrails. I mean, these jets were going cuckoo. I don't know how they didn't crash into each other. That's how bad it was. All the way down to Toledo, going towards Cleveland. I was like, wow. Amazing. And then started hearing about all these cases, and then shut down. So, just be careful. There are many different ways that things are utilized against you, whether you know it or not. Hopefully you're not a target, because that's what they do. And just stay vigilant and teach the young ones and teach them how to research and
receive, the right things that'll help them endure, whatever it is they're going to go through.
Well, what about this? Do you guys think that there is a connection between the chemtrails and 5G technology? Because we are talking about the suppression of the immune system and stuff, and we got this 5G technology, and we got these chemtrails, and I know that one of the ingredients in the chemtrails is aluminum. And aluminum, metal, and electricity is something else. So what do you think about this EMF technology, these 5G towers in conjunction to the chemtrails and stuff that you're talking about?
Well, the chemtrails, as you mentioned with the aluminum, when they sprayed it all over California for so long, and then you have all these wildfires that don't take one spark, and even the firemen don't want to go in there because it's like an inferno in there. So, those chemtrails may have been the cause of those fires. They're heavy on the breathing, so they cause respiratory issues. And that's when you see a lot of people at their pulmonary office, and whatnot. So there's a constriction of the lungs. There's a feeling that there's congestion and all kind of stuff. And along with the mucus that's being created because of the foods you're eating and whatnot, it all contributes and it all comes together. So it's a process. It's taken a long time for them to develop this process on you. We have to find a way out for and as intelligent men and women that can see, 2020. So I said this is a year of true witnessing, true observation. And observation and witnessing requires that you don't get emotional about it, because emotions will disturb your process of proper, knowledge development. So be watchful, be wary, take everything in stride, observe it, and hold on to it, and soon the picture will open up.
Okay, well, Dr. Bom Bay, we know you told us about the neem, you told us about Haritaki. Can you give us a breakdown on some of the other natural products that you have that you haven't mentioned?
Well, I don't have many. I only have about 12, and these are what I call the king, the queen, and the top generals, the plant kingdom. The Haritaki being the king, and the Tulsi being the queen, which, by the way, mixed with the neem creates the 3-2-1. And I'm telling you, within seconds, I don't care if you got influenza, whatever virus you got in your chest, within 15 minutes, it's done. It's done.
Mm-hmm.
Even within seconds, it's done, depending upon, following instructions and whatnot, and working with a certain way. And very, very powerful. So the queen and the top generals, the 9-star general like the neem, the Nilgiri, which is the highest camphorous tooth, mix that with the neem. Wow, it's unbelievable. And these are the 3 highest levels of attack or protection that you can get on the planet, because these are the higher intelligence herbs. And when you utilize them with the proper thought process and thankful to your creator for putting these things on there, it takes on a whole different level. And this is what I call divine healing. And that's why I call these divine, So you got to have God in the process, in the mix, always, whatever you do, whether you before you eat, or when you're in pain, or whether you're not in pain, and thankful for the good health. It's a whole lot more than what they envision. They don't understand this concept because it's a body, mind, spirit type of a deal. And, in which you awaken your pineal gland. And once you awaken it, then everything is equal because you see with one eye. And there's no emotions in one eye. 2 eyes bring you emotions from both sides. So it's important to decalcify pineal gland and open it up and lead us out of whatever it is that is in front of us, chaos and whatever. And only one eye can see through it, and we've known that in our ancient, in India for a long, long time. Even Shiva, like Dr. Shiva, with the third eye, when you open that eye, the truth known to the world, and he being from heaven and Parvati being Mother Earth made a pact that, okay, we're going to have children, we have to make sure that, they're protected. And their child was Ganesh, which was the elephant head god. If you look at that elephant head, that's actually the pineal gland. That is what it represents. That is what it should represent. People take it in many different ways, but that is the pineal gland.
Okay, well let me ask you this now. This, Dr. Bom Bay, this is a very, very important question, and I'm gonna put it to you because I know you gonna tell the people about this here. If I drink haritaki, and I know I got a belly full of haritaki, and but I'm feeling good, and all of a sudden I decide I want to drink a glass of vodka or a glass of gin. What's gonna happen?
Well, I mean, if you just do it occasionally, there's a saying in Ayurveda that do things in moderation.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it in moderation, you're okay. Going past that moderation, which is just like a line you draw for diabetes. If 120 is the number, that's moderation, and you go below it, you go above it, and it bounces up and down and whatnot, and that's what creates those diabetic issues, because it starts really swinging wildly. So you don't want to swing wildly with those bottles of vodka or gin or whatever also. Now, if you do that, then you need to stop drinking the haritaki.
Well, and the reason I asked that question is because I forgot one day, and I had to drink the haritaki. I forgot I had drunk the haritaki, and my buddy come over, and we decided to sit down and hold a conversation. And he said, "Well, I got some vodka out there. We want to." We sitting there, we talking. I'm just a swigging, he's swigging, and all of a sudden, stuff started heating up. And I started sweating, and I told him he had to go. And I went and jumped in the shower, cut on cold water, and that wouldn't stop the sweating. And so I cut that off, and I cut on the hot water, and then it really got worse. And because I noticed that on your products and stuff, with the write-ups and stuff, you tell us which product is either hot or cold. You want to tell us, what does that mean?
Well, let's take your situation, okay? In India, what we do is we take haritaki and put it in a whole bottle of vodka, and let it simmer and sit there. And usually when everybody's finished and at nighttime, before having a meal, everybody sit around and communicate, and all that stuff, and then a vodka and start drinking. I mean, and then they start sweating profusely.
Can't stop it, can you?
and while they're drinking, they're eating peppers.
Okay. Hot peppers?
You know what I'm saying? Yes, sir.
Okay.
So now they're sweating even more profusely. Now you got eyeball sweating going on.
Hey, brother Yoel, do you hear this?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Well, that's one I ain't got to worry about. I just placed my first order, and I'm calling you tomorrow about another order. Okay? The phone number on your website is what I'm gonna dial. Okay.
Well, you called.
So expect a phone call from me
phone.
tomorrow. So expect a phone call from me tomorrow. As soon as I talk to a couple other people, I'll be making another call, and then I'll call you.
No problem. No problem. If I don't answer, I'm on the phone. I'll call you back.
Okay, no problem.
Yep.
So that's all what I have to say about that, Tarhaka.
Okay, my brother. I tell you what. I told my son I gave him some Haritaki with instructions. Do not mix alcohol with this Haritaki, because if you do, you're going to start sweating and you ain't going to be able to stop. Getting in the shower, getting in the bathtub, hot, cold water, hot water, ain't none of that going to stop it. You better not mix that. So I forgot about it. And one day I called him. I said, well, how you doing? I'm doing all right. I said, well, Haritaki work? Yeah, it worked fine, but I made a mistake because Mama and her friends was over here, and we were drinking, and I decided to drink it. I was drinking and drinking. All of a sudden, stuff started heating up. He said he started sweating. He could start. Oh, man. I said, boy, didn't I tell you not to do that? Man.
But you know something? Let me just say this. We're aware of a couple of holes that we normally aware of, you know what I mean? But we had got holes all over our body, and that's another way of excrement or excreting, you know what I mean, elimination. It's part of elimination. And every once in a while it's good to do that, because things that have stuck inside of you are now released through your pores, you know. And water has a way of good, and especially salt water has a good way of removing it, you know, from the inside, you know what I mean? It's like crystal with water and lubrication, and it comes out. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to go through that. And that's really what I was saying, is that when we did it in the villages, they would drink and they would eat, and then, you know, they would have to walk to the well to take a bath. There was no faucet, so by the time they walked down, their digestion was good. You know, people eat, they just sit down. You know what I mean? So you need to get out and be back with nature and all kind of stuff. And in Michigan, there were a couple of sheriffs that challenged the governor's stay-home order. You know, you're saying that somebody in a canoe can be out there, no problem, but then somebody in a speedboat can't be out there, and there's nobody out there. 6-foot distancing nonsense. You know? And the sheriff, man, a couple of people here with me, we had went to see the sheriff multiple times since last year, and brought him the sheriff handbook and everything, and showed him his power, the power of the sheriff. And Sharif, which is from the indigenous side also. So he's I mean, with the FBI came with him with a warrant, and where's the rest of the warrant? They only brought one page with a RoboCop signature. He said, no. I want an actual wet ink signature. I want a wet ink signature, and I want the affidavit behind it, whatever. You know, where is it now? It's sitting in the judge's safe. No, I want to see it in my hands. Nobody's getting arrested here in my county today. Nobody's getting arrested here.
Really?
The sheriff.
Well.
That's the same guy, man. I'm telling you, his name is Dar Leaf. I gave him a bag of Haritaki, but he's, you know, but what we did together and learned together, that's where the power lies. Because, you know, the sheriff can arrest damn near anybody.
Well, yeah. Well, the sheriff is the officer of the law. He's an elected official. The rest of them riding around here with guns and badges in the car. These are private contractors. They are not officers of the law. These guys here don't have an oath of office. They are the authority that they have is the authority they give you. Now they do that you give them, but what they do is they use intimidation tactics and all that. But when you understand the law and you understand that the sheriff is the law, he's the officer of the law. The rest of them are not officers of the law. These guys are private contractors, just like you will hire a security guard to be at your business and appear to have some type of authority or something else, but you have to know the law. And I'm not saying go out and mess with these guys because they definitely don't know the law. And when you, if you're going to deal with the law, you deal with the sheriff. Now you are dealing with the officer of the law.
Yeah.
And that's what I always deal with. If I have a problem, a legal matter, a problem, something with them down there, I want to talk to the sheriff. I don't want to talk to the peons. I want to talk to the sheriff. And I told them one day, they come around here to my house, well, we're here to answer any question that you might have. I said, I don't want to talk to you. I said, go tell your boss that I said I want to talk to him man to man. I do not want to talk to any peons about nothing. Because they got mad with me. Because he was like, well, we calling out lieutenant. I said, I don't care who you call. If it ain't the sheriff, captain. I don't want to talk to him.
You want the captain.
Yeah, I want the head honcho.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Bom Bay, you become even more dangerous there. You sound like a man I need to talk to more. You would add the law into that not only the law of nature, but the law of the land. So that's interesting that you meant that. So you bad man. You better be careful.
Well, let me just say this: I walk in a different jurisdiction. I don't walk in that jurisdiction. And I don't intend to walk in that jurisdiction. So they can they can think whatever they want, but they can't prove jurisdiction.
Okay.
Subject matter jurisdiction. Absolutely right about that.
We're gonna have to
Dr.
talk.
Bom Bay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something now. Brother Yoel.
Yes, sir.
You don't know the story. Now, you can tell it if you want to. If you don't want to, it's okay. He don't know the story about you went up in the hospital to start getting them people healed with that Harry Tacky. You want to tell him about that?
Well, it's been a challenge. There was a baby involved and whatnot, and we were dealing with the doctors, but the doctors did what they wanted to do, and we lost the baby. So, but what they couldn't believe was this baby with a couple of punctures in her heart was breathing very strongly to live, and then when we instituted the Haritaki, her oxygen levels went from the 74 to 94 within 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Well, what about the other patients that was in the hospital that you gave the Haritaki to, and they was everybody was walking around healed, and they had no business up in there. You tell me about that one, man.
The thing is, we've had so many different stories like that and success stories, and the main problem that what I'm seeing is that a lot of people they get onto the stuff, they get healed, and then they stop doing it, and then they put it away in the back of a cabinet somewhere, and then it takes something like this to wake people up and to bring them back out. And like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? I mean, what? Why did you buy it 5 years ago? You know, what's the yourself and all that stuff. So, you know, do what you got to do now, you know, and maintain yourself. And that's the thing. Whether the virus comes and goes or whatever, if you maintain yourself, then you don't have to worry about nothing. I mean, you have to be fearful of nothing. Nothing.
Well, it's one thing I know, because to me, I deal with the strengthening of the immune system as a priority on a daily basis. I don't. Sometimes I will just go on nothing but a pure water fast and won't eat anything. But then when I do eat something, I'll make sure that I got it properly. Have some string beans today. Ate a slice of broiled sea trout, and I took and put some half a teaspoon of harikaki. Of the moringa powder on what I was eating and stirred it up, and on the string beans and stuff, and I ate that, followed by a banana, and followed by some grapes and stuff. So I'm good for that setting. And these are conscious acts that I perform because I take nutrition so seriously. And what that does is when you're drinking your water and eating properly, and that automatically slows down the aging process. And so we got the sunshine and the rain. We got down here in Florida, we have beautiful weather. I mean, the weather be beautiful, man. And so, in my opinion, I feel like if you got this good, beautiful weather, then you should be able to enjoy it. But if you are not conscious of what you are putting in your body, and then you're turning around, and when you get sick, you're going to depend on somebody else to tell you or to give you some pharmaceutical or some medicine, and you need to take this, and you need to get this prescription filled, and all of this stuff. Why don't we start taking full responsibility for our own health on a daily basis and make it a conscious act? And there are certain foods that you should eat and certain things that you should not. And so it's real, to me, it's not complicated. And I'm happy that I have made this a priority and a habit to do these things. And I'll be contacting you also because I got to get me some more Haritaki around here, so I go on over in that and keep it going. And so when illnesses and different things come around, and none of that don't get on me because ain't nothing compromised over here because I'm on top of this here business right here because my brain is inside of my skull and my head is attached to my shoulders, and so I'm the one got to live with this. So therefore, I have to be responsible for this thing, man. That's the way I see it. Now we down to 10 minutes. So if y'all want to give me some last words, go ahead and let it rip.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I was included on this call tonight. For no more reason at all is to wait for my order of that name and that 3-in-1 order for me and whatnot. So I'm glad I was included on the conversation, and that's worth all of what we listened to and we talked about tonight, especially since we're under attack by these people, and it's a health issue when it comes to them. So this is what we need. we need to do a part 2 to the whole 5G and the coronavirus thing. So, Tarhaka, if you
okay,
think about that one.
We can do a part 2. We'll do part 2 because I haven't run all the plugs, and I'm gonna figure out a way to get some more stuff on here. But I would like that. You know, I got Dr. Williams coming on the last Sunday of this month, and after him,
that's next week.
Then I will go ahead and do part 2 of this.
Right. Okay. So, that's all I got to say. And of course, Underground Bookstore in Chicago, 1727 East 87th Street. That's Underground Bookstore, 1727 East 87th Street, Chicago, Illinois, 773-768-8869, 773-768-8869. Email address, theundergroundbookstore@gmail.com, theundergroundbookstore@gmail.com, and undergroundbookstore, the number 1, @gmail.com. That's how you can contact me and order those books necessary that you've been looking for. And now is a good time to be inside reading and doing your research because they got you scared and in the house. So now is the time to order those books.
Okay, my brother. All right, Dr. Bom Bay, last word.
I thank you for inviting me back into the family communication. This entertainment you provide is totally delicious. And you know, we need to support each other. You know, we need to support each other through information, knowledge, and whatnot, and other ways that we can find. So this is the time. This is the time for things to come together. You know, and I think if we come together, even each in our little ways, we can make something big happen. But it's going to take like a bunch of us to come together and head that way. And getting out of these cities and whatnot is definitely something to think about. You know, just like getting out of China. You know, so there's a lot of things on our plate. Getting back to the grind of toiling to make our foods and things, you know, they're going to be very, very important. I think in the long run, if we're going to maintain ourselves, you know, and our people. So, you know, it's at this point it's observational. I'm seeing what is evolving and whatnot, and somewhere in there might be an opportunity to make those changes. So we have to stay vigilant and keep our eyes open and wait for that moment so that we can pounce on it, ever ready, you know, to jump at it because we're ready for it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking for that moment to be able to pounce on it myself. You know. So.
Okay. Well, I hope you are going to get with us to do the part 2. I'm gonna contact you and make sure that you to see if you're available so we can do part 2 of this thing and get some more information out. And I tell you what, man, I certainly appreciate you being here, my brother. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close on out. I'll convert this thing over into a video. It'll go up on YouTube, and I'll send you guys a copy of it like I always do. And y'all might want to stay tuned for Dr. Walter Williams that'll be on the last Sunday of this month. And we keep it going, man. And I thank you for being here, my brother.
All right. Peace and love. Peace and love.
All right. Peace and love. Okay, Moors. We're going down to the last few minutes of this broadcast. Y'all hold your hat. And we certainly appreciate you being here. I've been your host, Tarhaka and Bay.
I'm Sharon Goldberg. I'm an internal medicine physician. I've practiced medicine for 21 years, and my background is mostly academic, internal medicine, hospital-based, clinical research, and medical education. I am going to skip many of the things I wanted to say because I didn't realize it was only 5 minutes. Wireless radiation has biological effects, period. This is no longer a subject for debate when you look at PubMed and the peer-reviewed literature. These effects are seen in all life forms: plants, animals, insects, microbes. In humans, we have clear evidence of cancer now. There is no question. We have evidence of DNA damage, cardiomyopathy, which is the precursor of congestive heart failure, neuropsychiatric effects. So 5G is not a conversation about whether or not these biological effects exist. They clearly do. 5G is a conversation about unsustainable healthcare expenditures. Why do I say this? We've been sitting on the evidence for EMR and chronic disease for decades. And now we are seeing all these epidemics appearing. So diabetes is the first epidemic. I think most of you know the statistics. They're very scary. 1 in 3 American children will become diabetic in their lifetime, and if they're Hispanic females, the number is 1 in 2. Okay. So what does this have to do with wireless radiation? Wireless radiation and other electromagnetic fields, such as magnetic fields and dirty electricity, have been clearly associated with elevated blood sugar and diabetes. That is what the peer-reviewed literature says. It is not opinion. The closer you live to a cell tower, the higher your blood glucose. That is based on hemoglobin A1C measurements. So the idea with small cells of putting the cells closer to people's homes and bedrooms scientifically is very dangerous. And from an economic perspective, it's dangerous. And you may not know this. I was shocked to find this out. But the way you create a model of diabetes in rats in the lab is by exposing them to 2.4 gigahertz. And this is not for long-term exposure. So I don't have time to talk about the costs, but the huge problem with diabetes really is chronic kidney disease. End-stage renal disease, the worst complication of diabetes, leads to hemodialysis. Hemodialysis is an automatic qualification for Medicare. And if you don't qualify for Medicare, we still have to dialyze the patient. And the state ends up paying in many different instances. So renal failure is 1% of Medicare, but it takes up 7% of all Medicare expenditures. I don't have time to talk about this anymore, but once again, we have, so the other epidemics that clearly link from the science with electromagnetic radiation are related to mental health. And this is straight from PubMed. This isn't my opinion, this is science.
Dr.
Okay?
Goldberg, for those of us who aren't physicians, what is PubMed?
I'm sorry. It's just it's our National Library of Medicine. This is where you would go. This is just the peer-reviewed literature. So we have 3 epidemics that clearly, they're essentially one epidemic. We have deterioration of mental health in the United States. And if you look really at the science, what does it show? And these epidemics are our suicide epidemic, epidemics in violent, so shootings, and the opioid epidemic. And I don't have 5 minutes is not the time to talk about this. This is in the peer-reviewed literature. I have a file to submit for the record, but these are facts. These aren't, and these are things that have just been glossed over by the wireless industry, and I really don't have time to talk about them in 5 minutes. I wish I did. But we need to examine our epidemics in the context of our EMF exposures. What does that mean? That means that the CDC, tracking these epidemics, we need to start measuring how much radiation are people being exposed to, and before we roll out 5G. And this means there are 4 kinds of electromagnetic fields that we know are harmful to human health. So radio frequency radiation, magnetic fields, dirty electricity, and electric fields. Okay? Our exposure, any given person, and all humans are affected by EMFs. Our given exposure has nothing to do with the research that my colleagues are going to cite, with the National Toxicology Program. That is an assessment of the risk of 1 cell phone in the near field, okay? What is our exposure? In a day, it's not 1 cell phone. It's cell phones, it's multiple wireless networks, it's smart meters, it's cell towers. It's this sandwich, and it all adds up. And this is a serious problem for occupational health, public safety and personal safety. And I feel that it's irresponsible to be even talking about the Internet of Things and rolling out a new untested technology when we're not even measuring what are our current exposures from the current networks.
You've been listening to Moorish Talk Live 100 with Tarhaka and Bay. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. Peace.